Hi, everybody. Welcome. Week 9, recovering a sense of compassion. I'm so excited. I'm going to give it about 5 minutes for people to kind of come on because I am a little behind schedule and I want to give people the chance to know that we're still happening, know that they can still come on and join us. So, in the meantime, if you're watching replay, grab some water. Grab a journal if you want to write with it. It's a pretty short chapter. This is actually my favorite chapter. So I'm excited to talk about it with you. And then probably fast forward because I'm just gonna get some stuff done until some more people hop on. Yeah. All right, love this. Great. Plug this. Hmm. Okay. Hi, everybody. How are you? Sorry, I'm just getting some stuff some stuff done, waiting for you guys. I realized that I did not add a RSVP for the live. Excuse me, for the live. And normally I do, but I didn't. And I realized that that meant that it would take some time for people to hop on. So I'm giving people that time. In the meantime, grab some water. Go ahead and grab your journal if you want to write some stuff down. And then we're going to start in like 2 more minutes. Okay. And let me know how you're feeling today. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Where are you tuning in from? All those good things. Okay. Hi, Evelyn. Hi, O Poet. O Poeta. Luis. Hopefully I got your name right. Here we go. Okay. I will give you guys a quick update. For those that don't know, we are currently journeying through The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And in this session, or all the sessions, I'm giving my point of view as a Black woman on how I took the content and how I was able to navigate it. I also add in some perspective around metaphysics, around beauty, around the dark feminine divine when I feel like it's appropriate and it really helps to drive home the message. There are times where I argue with Julia a lot of what she be saying because I'm like, what is going on here? And then there are other times where I am like, all right, no, I get it. And we're going to apply it. You're going to see that in today's chapter too. There is a story that she uses where I'm like, this person means nothing to me personally. So I have substituted it with other people instead that I feel are more relevant to the community that I'm cultivating. So you guys know. Hi, Jack. Hi, Sia. Yeah, I know. I didn't have the RSVP and I realized that late. Oh, wait. I realized this too. Voila. Much better. Yay. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. So we're doing week 9. I'm very excited about this. Very, very excited because it's my favorite chapter. It's so funny. Let me tell you something. I struggled. Okay, I struggled through week 8. I still have the after party notes like sitting in my laptop. I'm gonna post them up after this. But when I say I struggled, 5 essays. I felt like I was back in school, y'all. I was just like, oh my gosh. Because I really want to talk about the neuroscience aspect. I want to talk about the metaphysical aspect. I want to talk about beauty that can be found in those themes. And it takes so much brain power. So much brain power. But they're so good. So I know that Jack and Sia, you guys are a part of the after party. So you're going to really, I feel like you're going to really love it. I really put my heart into it. It took a lot longer than I would like it to. And my goal is to make sure that for the paid subscribers, you guys are getting your content at a decent time, but I also have to acknowledge the fact that I'm like one person. You know what I mean? So it's like I do what I can. Um and I just hope that you guys remember my humanity. But it's so good. It's so, so, so good. Man, I was like, I decided to take on 5 essays. Like, why would you do this to yourself? Why? Luckily, this chapter has 3 essays, and that's not why it's my favorite. I really love this. I feel like what I've noticed in the 12-week journey is that it kind of ebbs and it flows. Like one week, the topic is a little bit more arduous than the next week, and the next week is softer. So week 8, for me personally, felt really hard. Even going over the concepts again and reminding myself of the journey, it was a lot. It was a lot. And then being able to go into week 9 and being like, oh, it feels like a breath of fresh air. So I hope that you all feel that way too. Thank you so much, Sia. Yes. Yeah. I'm like, why would you choose this lifestyle? I feel like if I journey through the 12 weeks again in the future, I mean, the good thing about it is that we'll have like these lives and most of the content is already done. The essay writing is already done. The research is already done. I'd probably go over it again, plugging in more Black women writers and maybe their essays to explore the themes here because I think that that's important. But like it being every single essay, I'm like, oh my goodness. I feel that sometimes Julia wrote this book like ideally. You know, like in an ideal world, you'll be able to get all of this information together as an artist. And rightfully so, did not consider what it would be in the modern world because this is not the time when she wrote it. And considering all the other things that come along with being a creative. Like, unfortunately, the way that society has panned itself out, we don't just get to kind of lounge around and just enjoy creativity. We have to pay bills. We have to take care of our loved ones. We have to navigate, um, culture and society and the ups and the downs. And like we are constantly saying all the time, we are again in unprecedented times. We are constantly trying to figure out what next step to take, how to still be a loving and caring person, but also to find a level of grit and ruthlessness to you so you can continue showing up. And then we're like hyper visible to people that we may never meet physically all over the world. I don't think any of that was considered in this book. And I do believe that that is why a lot of people struggle with finishing this book and why it has this kind of this hate train, unfortunately, where people are just like, this is just unrealistic. It's because it requires so much of you. So much of you. However, if you are able to journey through just the themes themselves, maybe not every activity, maybe not every essay, or picking an essay out of each week that really stands out to you. You guys will see like in week 9, the essay on enthusiasm. I love that essay so much. And I feel like we need to allow ourselves to kind of take what resonates and leave the rest. We're so hell bent on completing something and saying like, well, I went through the 12 weeks, like I finished it and and that's great. I love that. But what did you really retain from it? Like, did you change any habits in your creative process? Are you able to connect with yourself more through the morning pages? Or are you maintaining the artist dates? Did anything really work for you? Or did you just get through the 12 weeks? Because I feel like a lot of people just get through the 12 weeks and they automatically hate it. And it's because they did not integrate. They didn't take the time to sit and see what feels good about what they learned. And if you're not going to do that, why are you consuming information? You know? And again, I feel like I'm going to end up writing an essay on overconsumption because that is something that I feel like a lot of us struggle with. But for myself, I read 100, so far I've read over 120 books this year, right? And it's a mix of media. Some of them are audiobooks, some of them are physical books, some of them is immersive reading where I'm doing both at the same time. That's not including any of the essays I read on Substack, things like that. I love knowledge, but I also know I have to integrate it. For me, that looks like after I finish a book, literally doing a bit of a book report and calling it a book review to see what pulled up for me, what emotions invoked in me, to see what themes I enjoyed, what I didn't like, studying them from the point of view of a upcoming author and what tropes I loved, what scenes really made sense to me, all these things. So I am taking in a lot of information, but I also make sure to sit with it and see how to integrate it. And then the stuff that I don't like, I say my piece, I witness why I don't like it, and I move on. And I feel like we don't always do that. We kind of like blame authors. And it's just like, maybe also you just don't like their work because that's cool. There are some profound authors that I am just like, I cannot get jiggy with your work. I've tried and it's not for me. It doesn't mean that you're not a phenomenal author, right? It just means that you and I don't connect. Or it could be I don't have enough life experience to really understand where you're coming from right now. That also can be true. There are so many different levels to it. I just feel like that's something that needed to be said. That was not even on the agenda for today, but I just felt like, you know, the concepts work. And I can acknowledge both the outrageousness of all she wants you to do in 7 days and what she wants you to process in 7 days and how chaotic that is given our time and day right now. And then I can also acknowledge, right, the opposite of like, this information can be valuable. And I do feel like if you are journeying with us throughout the 12 weeks and seeing the modifications that I've made through the different lenses that I have, it will be useful to you as an artist, whether you are a painter, a teacher, a writer, a dancer, whatever it is. We're all artists in our own right. And this is really helpful. So I just want to say that. Okay. Carla. Let's see. Yay, yay. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Julia wrote for Ideal. Yes, kind of mainstream world. Yes. And your nuancing application has been amazing. Well, thank you, Jack. Yeah. Hi, Reverend. Yeah, I'm just like, there's a lot of stuff. However, recovering a sense of compassion, rereading this, I'm like, oh, this was my favorite one. This is the one where things started to click for me. And I was really proud of myself for not giving up on week 8 because recovering a sense of strength is just a hard theme for me in general as a Black woman who is constantly redefining her relationship to strength, to not be the strong woman, you know what I mean? To allow myself to be soft, to allow myself to be vulnerable. It's a lot when like people just idealize you that way and you're getting a chapter that's like, no, be strong, but be strong in this way. And you're like, what? I'm trying not to do that anymore. I feel like mentally I went through that again. And there's layers in how I'm discovering this book again because I'm going through it again as a student, but also as a teacher to relay the message. And then as a creative, as an actual artist of like, oh, snap, I got to also go through this again. Even though I finished the book before, I'm still experiencing new things that come up that I was like, oh, this didn't happen the first time. We were fine the first time. What happened? And yeah, I just wanted to give a disclaimer because I feel like transparency is super important when you are showing up in these spaces. And I want us all to kind of get out of that mindset of being robots and trying to get things done at a deadline when, time is relevant. Time is a concept. And I'd much rather give you quality work that I'm really proud of, that I feel like could be useful to you in your journey, than just to push things out at said date to show some type of visible, what's that word that people use a lot? Consistency. Visible consistency of like every Monday, 9 a.m. It's like I'm not a robot. I'm one person. And sometimes it's Tuesday, sometimes it's Sunday. But you will get the work and the work will be beautifully done because I do put my all into it. And that I'm proud of. Okay. Integrating, applying the knowledge. Yes, it's so important. I feel like people be forgetting that that's the purpose of getting information is to like apply it to life. See how it works for you. Also, timing for connection with author book can be amazingly different at different times. Yes, Celestine and Alchemist. Yes, and The Alchemist for me. Same. When I first read The Alchemist, I'm like, what the hell is this? I did not enjoy that book at all. Think and Grow Rich did not. I still don't enjoy Think and Grow Rich, actually. I still struggle with that book. Like, I read it because it had to be read because I was in school, but I was like, oh my God, I never want to see this book again. Rereading it as I got older and had more life experience, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I can apply this here, here, and here. Wow. Alchemist, like, oh, I get it. This is a journey. It's the journey. Celestine Prophecy. Celestine Prophecy was an instant yes for me, but that is because of where I was at in my life. It helped me to progress in my spiritual journey. So, like Jack said, timing really does matter on when you're getting these books. And I know a book that I'm constantly reading, The Woman Who Run with Wolves. This is where I teach a lot of my work from. This is where a lot of my my foundation comes from. It's from this book in particular, alongside some other books. But as you guys can see, I've skipped through things like that, but like consistently reading, this is how far I am. Gasp, right? However, the notes, the insights, when I'm slowed down to read the book, some books you need to take your time with, some books you need to put back. I've had this book for almost 10 years. And literally every time I pick it up, it's exactly when I need it. This is not a book that you complete in one sitting. This is a book that you complete throughout your life. As you grow and you learn and you experience more, the messages here, they resonate deeply. I feel the same way about Bell Hook's work as well. All about love, communion. Communion is creme de la creme. That's another book where you really want to make sure that you are taking the time to digest it. Like, please, because what is being given to you is going to radicalize how you see yourself in the world. You need time to process what that change is going to look and feel like for you. Because sometimes it's instant, other times it creeps in, building brick by brick. You need time to just integrate all of that. Okay. I need to charge this phone because whenever I go live, it is 1 second. There we go. Make sure we charge this. Last thing I need is the phone dying on us. I feel like that would be so funny though. But like, I probably shouldn't be laughing at that because, that would end the live. Okay, my phone is a little crooked. Let's hope for the best, y'all. Okay. Yeah, same with me, Jack. Good morning. The Artist Way is a powerful process. It is. It is, Rev. It really, really is. Hi, Carla. Thank you for the bang. Hi, Laura. Thank you for subscribing. I saw interpreters. while in the hospital. I feel you as an interpreter of the artist's way low, bringing it across. Thank you so much. Yes, Celestine Prophecy is a throwback. I love the book. That is one of my favorite books. I talk about that book all. You can. Jack and Sia have like been OGs with me for the past couple of years. Like they will tell you, I love the Celestine Prophecy. Surprisingly, I did not use that book for this experience, which is weird now that I think about it out loud, because why didn't I? But I might in the upcoming year or so. But I love that book. That book was so transformational in so many ways, and I cannot wait to really dive in and just kind of show why I'm that is a book I'm obsessed with. That's a book I will buy for people. That, Woman Around with the Wolves, Sacred Woman, even though I would give a disclaimer about Sacred Woman because it is very cyclical in its writing, lots of repetition. You have to have a decent understanding of feminine divine energy and how it flows to be able to process that book. That book requires a little bit of knowledge. If you know, you know. Jambalaya by Louise Tage. Like, there are some books that I feel people should read, no matter how you identify, because they really do help us understand the world in which we live in. And Celestine Prophecy is definitely one of those books for sure. Yes. Yeah. See, I did, but I feel like I didn't do it this way. I live so much life. Sometimes I forget. Yes, I miss. Yes, yes, no. I do want to bring it back. I do. But I would pick different stories from here. Because that's what I did last time for my membership. I had different stories. But it's so hard with a book like this because the way she writes the book is that each story supports the next story so that you have a better understanding. And I feel conflicted in wanting to bounce around and then just going step by step. So we'll see. We'll see what I decide to come up with. I might surprise us all. Yeah. Sacred Woman, right? Yeah. You have to have an understanding. You have to have a little bit of nuance with that book. Otherwise, it will drive you crazy. It will literally drive you crazy. We're like, what? You just told me to do all these things. And you're like, only if it feels good in your heart. And you're like, what? Only if it feels good in my heart. Yeah. If you are someone who considers themselves to be anal or very rigid in how you learn, you need like an A to B, B to C process, I would slow myself into Sacred Woman. I wouldn't dive deep in. It would drive. If you're type A type of person, take your time with that book because it's for you to deconstruct your type A mentality. And as a recovering type A, I know that is very hard for me to do because it is what keeps me moving forward. That type A-ness of getting things done and then having somebody say like, actually, there's another way and it's the direct opposite of what you've been doing is like, what are you talking? What are you talking about? What does that mean? Maybe I'll do, once we're done with the artist way, maybe I'll do like a live on some of the spiritual books that I've read and my thoughts on them and what I feel would be best for people. And you guys can share your thoughts too, because it's not just me and what I'm thinking and what I'm experiencing. This is a collaborative effort. Like, we're an actual community. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a slow burn. Yeah. Yeah. I just gotta mama a fool. I feel like, girl. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. At the end, every time I complete it, I'm just like, oh, I feel so much more centered. I feel so much more empowered. In the beginning, I'm like, why did I choose to do this? I didn't enjoy this. And it's like, actually, you did. You have to just grow into it. Every time I'm a new woman after that book. All right. So we are doing week 9, Recovering a Sense of Compassion. There are 3 essays here that I'm going to go over. And it's fear, enthusiasm, which is my favorite essay. I think it's my favorite essay in the book. Love enthusiasm, and then creative U-turns, and then we'll do an EFT session. So this would be a shorter class, but you never know with us because once we start yapping we just be talking and connecting, and then it's a vibe. So just be with me as long as you can. All right, I'm gonna read the intro and then fear, and then we'll do what we normally do. Week 9. This week finds us facing the internal blocks to creativity. It may be tempting to abandon ship at this point. That was me. I was ready to go. Don't. We will explore and acknowledge the emotional difficulties that beset us in the past as we made creative efforts. We will undertake healing in the shame of past failures. We will gain in compassion as we reparent the frightened artist child who yearns for creative accomplishment. We will learn tools to dismantle emotional blocks and support renewed risk. All right? Boom. Fear. One of the most important tasks in artistic recovery is learning to call things and ourselves by the right names. Most of us have spent years using the wrong names for our behaviors. We have wanted to create and we have been unable to create, and we have called that inability laziness. This is not accurate. It is cruel. Accuracy and compassion serve us far better. Blocked artists are not lazy, they are blocked. Simple. Simple. Blocked artists are not lazy, they are blocked. There's an energetic disconnect, like we've talked about with our energy pathways. When we're doing EFT, the reason why you get this relief from EFT is because as you're tapping, any gaps in your energetic highways, which are called meridians, that we're tapping into when we're touching on these points in the body, we're closing those gaps, we're reconnecting. Then all of a sudden you get a flood of energy. Sometimes it leaves you tired, sometimes it leaves you wired, right? It depends on the person in your journey. Sometimes you yawn, sometimes you sneeze, there's so many triggers to it. But the point is we're connecting the highways. We're connecting the energy back to each other so that we have a flow of energy coming through the body and doing what it needs to do to keep us healthy and happy. The same thing happens with your creativity, right? So I know she uses the word blocked, but for those that study energy psychology, we use a gap, right? There's a gap and we have to close the gap. So artists are not lazy, there's just a gap and they need to close that gap. Does that make sense? It's less about you having to go out and hustle and grind and make it happen and just grind and get it done, and more of a there is something that's not connecting for you. Usually it means that the mind, the body, and the spirit are disconnected in some way, shape, or form. Maybe the body is connected to the spirit, but not the mind, right? Or maybe the spirit and the mind together, but the body's not on board. Usually, if you get the mind, body, and spirit together, there shouldn't be any gaps. And correct me if I'm wrong. If someone watches this at a later time and is like, actually, here's this and this information, drop it in the comments so that we can all learn together. But from my years of study, if those three things are in alignment, there are no gaps, there is no block. You are able to produce and to create without effort. Honestly, it's just a flow. You become a very clear channel and vessel for creativity, for source, for whoever you call on to pour into you and allow you to create. Okay? There we go. Yes, type nap. Oh, I love that one, Carla. Yes, type N. Count me in that one. I love that. Yes, Abiola Abrams. Yes. Have that book too and the deck. It's absolutely beautiful. Hi, Rachel. Okay. Being blocked and being lazy are two different things. The blocked artist typically expends a great deal of energy, not visibly. The blocked artist spends energy on self hatred, on regret, on grief, and on jealousy. The blocked artist spends energy on self doubt. The blocked artist does not know how to begin with baby steps. Instead, the blocked artist thinks in terms of great, big, scary, impossible tasks, a novel, a feature film, a one person show, an opera. When these large tasks are not accomplished or even begun, the blocked artist calls that laziness. Do not call the inability to start laziness. Call it fear. Fear is the true name of what ails the blocked artist. It may be fear of failure or fear of success. Most frequently, it is fear of abandonment. This fear has roots in childhood reality. Most blocked artists try to become artists against either their parents' good wishes or their parents' good judgment. For a youngster, this is quite a conflict. To go squarely against your parents' values means you'd better know what you're doing. You better not just be an artist, you better be a great artist if you're going to hurt your parents so much. Parents do act hurt when children rebel, and declaring oneself an artist is usually viewed by parents as an act of rebellion. Unfortunately, the view of an artist's life as an adolescent's rebellion often lingers, making any act of art entail the risk of separation and the loss of loved ones. Because artists still yearn for their creative goals, they still feel guilty. They then feel guilty. This guilt demands that they set a goal for themselves right off the bat that they must be great artists in order to justify this rebellion. They need to be a great artist. The need to be a great artist makes it hard to be an artist. The need to produce a great work of art makes it hard to produce any art at all. I want to pause right there for a second because there's some things there that I want to address from like the educator side of me as well. children are supposed to rebel against their parents, right? Not like burn the house down rebel, but to question authority. And you definitely want your child to question authority. Is it annoying? Absolutely. Oh my God. I'm dealing with it right now with my niece where I'm like, oh my God, girl, just get it done. Just do it. But I'm always grateful that she questions these things, because what you don't want is for your child to just always say yes to you, never have a thought for themselves on what feels best for them, and then go out in the world and never question authority. Because there are a lot of people who have authority that should not, and they should be questioned. They shouldn't even be in power, first and foremost. They should not be in power. But they remain in power because a lot of us were raised to not question authority. Especially if you are a Black or brown person, we were taught this to keep us alive. All full stop. Like, we were taught to keep it alive, for us to still breathe. We were not to question authority. And we can bring this all the way back to Harriet Tubman and the experience of helping enslaved folks become free. It wasn't a question. It's like, we're doing this thing. That's it. Period. Be quiet. Get it done so you can get to freedom. It's very simple. And a lot of us are like, oh, how do we connect this back to, us as creatives, as artists? That still lives within us. We're not that many generations removed from that experience. And the way that society is going in the United States, we might really not be that far away from us doing a whole U-turn, honestly, to be very frank. However, when we start to take in the cultural understanding of having to listen to authority in hopes of not being murdered, right? Or taken from our family, right? Or being physically assaulted, it makes sense why a lot of our parents, especially those who have baby boomers, right? That was like, children are to be seen, not heard. Don't talk back to me. Just get it done. There was a level of safety to that. But as we evolve and as society evolves, it is important for you to allow how you parent and how you see children to evolve too. Because there was a time where children weren't even considered human beings either. Like, I think child labor laws just came into play in the 1990s. That's not far. Like, they were not considered people. So it makes sense why we would have this innate ability to be like, no, when I say do something, just get it done because I said so. How many of us grew up with that sentence alone? Because I said so. And as a child, you're like, okay, but what is that? What will it do with that? And if you're a black sheep, if you are, othered in your family, or in your tribe, or in your community, imagine the pressure and the fear that comes up with you being like, this actually does not make sense to me. And now I either have to go against my intuition to survive and still be a part of my family dynamic, or go against the grain and lose what is familiar to me. Those are big decisions to make as a kid. I just want to be very clear about that. So now that we have an understanding of that, if you have children in your life, if you are a parent or a guardian, if you're an educator, keep that in mind when they're asking you why. Sometimes they're doing it to be annoying. Sometimes they truly are just wanting to get on your nerves. Call it out. Say it. Sometimes I'm like, girl, why are you asking me questions you have the answer to? Why are we doing this? Like, it's okay for you to also ask those questions back to children. I just want to make that very, very clear, because I have been, as a black sheep, I always question things. Drove my mother crazy, like crazy. However, when I was adult, I had such self-agency and I was okay standing on my own, that when situations came up that could have been debilitating to me or traumatizing to me, or when I was given the choice to pick the society, right? The tribe over myself and what I felt to be true, I had the strength to stand for myself, even when no one else got it. To this day, that's probably one of the best qualities I personally think I have about myself. My ability to discern is because I asked questions. And I was fortunate enough to have enough adults in my life to be able to get an answer. Sometimes it wasn't from my mother. It definitely wasn't from my grandmother, because that lady was not about that life. It was get it done or, my grandmother was intense, but my grandfather wasn't. My uncles were really helpful. My aunts answered a lot of questions. because we don't factor in the fact that for parents, you're also stressed out. You're also exhausted. There's a lot of shit going on that you got to handle. It can be a lot to answer every single question your child asks. However, I encourage you to give space for them to ask those questions, or and I talk about this in my sacred initiation that I have for parents, where we talk about creating a village and how important it is to have a village, because that's when you lean on your village. I'm like, I actually don't even have capacity to speak to you in full sentences because you got on my nerves this morning about not wanting to eat your breakfast. I don't have time for your questions, but maybe your aunt does. Call your aunt, right? Call your uncle, call the elder, whatever the case is. I know for me, the way that we are raising my niece, she has aunts that specify in different things: literature, magic, self empowerment. All my nieces and nephews, they call me, right? Math. When it comes down to like science and math and like dealing with technology, we're calling Auntie Maya, because Auntie Lo doesn't have that capacity. That's not, don't call me for that. Okay. And that's important to have that type of variation in your community to support your child so that they do not grow up with this trauma of being afraid to ask questions, being afraid to be an artist, to express themselves, because they did not want to be left behind. They did not want to be eradicated from their family. I'm happy to say that within my family dynamic, we really push my nieces and my nephews to be artists, to express themselves, even if it annoys us, because we don't want them to grow up with that trauma. We want them to grow up with the ability to know that they can ask questions, that those questions can get answered, and that they are safe to explore their curiosity, because especially as Black children, they have every right to have that experience. And unfortunately, in the world that we live in, they're only going to get that experience from us. Does that make sense? Okay. Here we go. Rachel, you look extra today, Lois. Oh, thank you. I love it. The bangs are banging. Thank you, thank you. I was like, I need a new look. Like whenever I get frustrated with my creativity, I'm like, let's change the avatar. Let's look different. So that's what we did. Yes, yeah. Thank you, Jack. The heaviest burdens on children is the unlived lives of parents. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I always do this thing. Here we go. Oh my gosh, y'all. Every time I think I understand what I'm doing, I'm wrong. This is why we don't call Auntie Lotus for technology, because it always malfunctions around me. It's just something that we know to be true. Okay. Here we go. People have authority who should not. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Physicians are very much included. Yeah. Physicians, there are a lot of educators that should not be teaching children. They shouldn't even be around children. There's so many educators where I'm just like, how did you get here? What's going on here? What's going on? There are plenty of CEOs, CFOs. There are plenty of people who are in positions of power that should not be there, because their intention is not to help grow or nurture their employees or their subordinates or their students. It's just to wield power so that they feel comfort. That's crazy. You should not be in a position of power if that is your main focus. We are in big time retrograde in the USA right now. Yep. Thanks for saying it low. It's for real. Important to take it very seriously. Very seriously. Rachel, and in certain states, they are trying to bring back child labor, which is insane. It's like, these are they just learned how to walk. What are we doing here? Yes. Let me see. They want to roll it back. Important to realize Project 2025 tells the game plan. It does. It really does. Children are supposed to be raised in a village setting. Exactly, Carla. Exactly. Rachel, you have been so amazing in between generations, being brave and mindful. Much respect. Carla, girl, do we have the same brain? Because I wrote that you're talking about the village. Ah! I'm telling you, when two or more are gathered, source is here. We create this beautiful connection, this collective consciousness that we get to tap into. That is community. I'm never surprised when we're finishing each other's sentences, when we're diving in deep. I'm never surprised. I truly am not. Because I'm just like, my people find me and I find my people. Period. Love that. I say a lot to say like, yes, Carla, we probably do share the same brain. Nuclear family has been disaster. Yes. I've always taken applications for rich, wise aunties and uncles for my kids. Yeah, it's just being an auntie. I'm just like, oof. And being an active auntie, I auntie in the way that my uncles and my aunties auntied me and uncled me. Like I was very much. I was raised by. Like I was their children. Like I was my mother's child, and then I also was very much like a niece was another word for daughter. Really and truly. My aunts, my uncles, they took care of me like I was their own child, whether they had kids or not. I was just as much as a priority. They were at the graduations, they were at the birthday celebrations, they were calling me when I needed advice, they were helping me when I would be distraught. I could call them to get insight or advice. Even when it came to me and my mom and how we struggled to communicate, I could call them and they would mediate. They would let me know when I'm maybe doing too much as a child. I got to tone it down. And they would check my mom and be like, girl, this is a lot for her. You know, you need that. If you're only relying on one parent as a child, it's going to create a really horrible power dynamic because you're going to be terrified to go against them. And then if you do go against them and then you're left alone, you're going to feel so incredibly lonely throughout life. Of like, well, my parent abandoned me, so anybody can abandon me. This is why a lot of us have those abandonment wounds, is because we went against the grain and there was not enough support in our childhood for us to be able to be loved and nurtured somewhere else. Whenever I had to rebel against my mother, there were other adults in my life that would nurture me, or they would course correct me in ways my mom was unable to do. Super necessary. And because I was given that experience as a child, I'm very adamant about doing it as an aunt for my nieces and nephews. It's not always convenient, but I always feel satiated in making sure that they know they can call me about anything and we will figure it out. I'm not going to go into lecture mode automatically. Eventually, yeah, but not automatically. Let's figure out how to get you safe first, whether it's safe in the mind, the body, or the spirit. And then we move forward on taking steps on how to integrate the process. How do we bring, the parents in, things like that. Super important. Kids need that type of support. They need village. Okay. I think of you and Rachel as aunties, to be honest. Thank you both for your wisdom and presence. All relationships should have community. Agreed. We're like nature. Plants pull and pour into each other in the soil. Agreed. Yes, Rachel. Auntie Love's tech support hotline closed. No, there will never be. Hi, Summer. There will never be a tech support. Never. Never. Just also knowing your truth is important too for that. Like that's a little bonus. Know your truth. If you're not good at it, stop extending yourself in that space. Find someone who is good at it. Start operating in your zone of genius as much as you possibly can. You may not be able to do it in all areas of your life, but when it comes to working with children and helping them to develop and grow, do it in your zone of genius. It's super important. I was just having this conversation with my sister yesterday where we were talking about to my niece about getting dressed up. And I'm like, all right, girl, let's get you dressed up. And she's like, I am dressed up. And I'm like, you're wearing a sweatsuit. And she's just like, there's glitter on it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then in my mind, I'm like, have you ever taught her the difference between like casual wear and formal wear? Because if you didn't teach her that, what do you expect a girl to know? And I had to put it on my to-do list of like, okay, I gotta go through your closet or we gotta go to a store and just start looking at things and having you tell me what you think is when we dress up and when we dress down. And then start bridging that gap for you. Because this is information that you need to know as you get older because you are so well rounded and you're in all these different groups. And sometimes you need formal wear. Sometimes it's casual and cute. And you need to know the difference so that when you get to the space, you're not uncomfortable in what it is that you're wearing. That's just like the basis. We're not talking about style. You know what I'm saying? And that's something I know. My sister's like, girl, I, I don't care about, like, that's not my business. I care about those things, which is why I'm a part of her life so that I can provide those things for her. Does that make sense? Like, you'll start to see where the gaps are. When you're looking at it that way, you start to see where you fill in the gaps. And it just makes it so much more easier. A lot of us are regulated in our nervous system now in this village around Parker because we all play our roles. We're not overextending into different things. And it's going to give her a really good foundation as she gets older. Okay. Hello, hello. Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Summer. Oh, Uncle Jack. Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, China. I love your Rich Auntie playlist, Lotus. Yes. Yeah. That is who I am. Rich Auntie. Yes, yes, yes. Just getting up to full speed. Yes, 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 yes. Here for the eventual lecture mode. Yeah, it's gonna definitely happen. We are gonna talk about this, but right now, let me help you. You know, I used to hate that as a kid. Like, girl, I am drowning. Get me out the water, please, please. Get me out the water. Give me some time to get the water out my lungs, to breathe, to feel alive again, and then we can talk. But don't do it while I'm in the water asking you to help me. Don't be like, remember when I said not to? That's not the time. I'm not gonna learn the lesson. You're gonna piss me off. Even as a kid, like, don't do that. We have to remember that as adults. It's so easy for us to get into that space of just lecturing, and it's just like, just let the kid be a kid. Know they're gonna make mistakes. They just got here. They just got here. I have to remind myself that all, like, my niece just turned 9 last week, and I'm like, she's only been here for 9 years. And even with that, I think she's been cognizant maybe like 2, 3 years. I'm still navigating shit at 35. I cannot expect this girl to know what I know. That's ridiculous. And unfortunately, a lot of us grew up being treated like adults mentally and emotionally when we were nowhere near that. Right? Yes. Yeah, we're going to tap for sure. I got you. Not this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was just like, there's glitter on this. I'm like, I did teach you about glitter. That does level up any outfit. Very true. However, that does not mean this is a formal outfit and we're going to a tea party. Just just work with me, please. Yes. Exactly. The clothes don't define, they enhance. Exactly. I'm good, Jack, and my young adult is a fantastic. Oh my gosh. Hi. Hi everybody. Ooh, Pilates. Yes. Oh, I just finished Pilates too. I loved it. Okay. Yes. They just got here. All right, cool. So we understand that part. Let's finish the essay. Finding it hard to begin a project does not mean you will not be able to do it. It means you will need help from your higher power, from supportive friends, and from yourself. First of all, you must give yourself permission to begin small and go in baby steps. These steps must be rewarded. Setting impossible goals creates enormous fear, which creates procrastination, which we wrongly call laziness. Do not call procrastination laziness, call it fear. Fear is what blocks an artist. The fear of not being good enough, the fear of not finishing, the fear of failure, and the fear of success, the fear of beginning at all. There's only one cure for fear, and that cure is love. Use love for your artist to cure its fear. Stop yelling at yourself. Be kind. Call fear by its right name. So that's the essay on fear. I feel like that's a great way to introduce compassion because it's hard for you to have compassion for what we consider our creative shortcomings when we are like, it's because we were procrastinating and because we were lazy. That makes you want to, it inspires that pull yourself up by the bootstraps nonsense that a lot of people say that they built their empires off of. We're still looking for facts on that. That's not something we should be striving for as human beings. However, if we're looking at ourselves with compassion, like, hey, I actually am having a hard time starting. Maybe talking that over with yourself, journaling about it, talking over with your divine source, talking over with a trusted friend or family, maybe even taking that far to get professional help. That is going to help you change the outcome. Not beating yourself up, not criticizing yourself, not making yourself feel like a failure. None of that's going to help you grow as an artist. That's going to continue to put you in that loop where you are beating yourself up, you try again, you beat yourself up, you try again. That is not what I want for you. I want you to care enough for yourself to be able to say, I am not lazy. I am not procrastinating, but I do need more compassion for myself, for my art. I need to lean back in. I need to check in with myself. I love to look at things like procrastination and laziness as invitations, right? They're invitations for you to look around and see what's missing. We now know that in the interpretation that Julia gives us, what's missing is compassion. It's not that you're lazy, it's probably that you're exhausted or dehydrated or traumatized, right? It's not that you're procrastinating, it's that you're overwhelmed or you're dysregulated. Dysregulation and overwhelm, we can do something about. Saying that we're procrastinating, what do you do with that information? How does it become useful? And that's something that I read about earlier today when I was revisiting Women Who Run with the Wolves. She was saying that there's little in the world that are good and bad. You should reframe your mind to look at things that are what is useful and what is useless. Saying that you are lazy is useless. You cannot use that for anything. There's nothing to gain from calling yourself that or calling other people that. It's really just being mean and unkind. It's unnecessary, right? But saying like, oh, I'm tired or I'm exhausted or I'm hungry, that's useful information because we can do something about that information. We can do something. We can get you water. We can get you nourishment. You could go ahead and take a nap, or go to some water and reset your mind. That is useful information. As creatives, as artists, as teachers, educators, whatever you call yourself, you need useful information. And if you can use that filter and ask yourself, what I'm doing to myself right now, is this useful or useless? And if it's useless, what do you do with useless information or useless things? You throw it out, throw it away. And then start to use what is helpful. And it's really good that she gave us language to work with. So again, if you're someone that struggles with procrastination, with feeling lazy, we now know you're lacking compassion for yourself and your artistic journey. So we're going to throw away calling ourselves out of our names, because if we can do that to ourselves, we're also inviting other people to call us whatever they want to call us. And we're not going to have that, right? Not at all. We're going to raise our level of self-worth and understanding and say, like, I just need to be more compassionate with myself. And then start to explore what that looks like. If you have no idea where to begin with that, that just shows you how long you've been disconnected from your compassion for yourself. It's been a while. Let's reroute our focus and our energy and start pouring it into how we can close the gap between us and compassion so that we can lean into and express our creativity with more ease. Okay? Let's see. I love that you guys having a whole conversation on here. This makes me so happy. Yes, casual and formal wear. This is me and my daughter. Yes, Car. I'm just like, baby, please just. I know you're trying to tell me something, but like right now, I just need you to put these clothes on, and that's okay. Yes, I'm good. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I'm so happy everybody's doing well. Yes, I'm happy you're out of the hospital too, Jack. Thank you for keeping me updated. Yes, we're reading The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. They're $200 bootstraps and free enslaved labor. But yep, because I'm like, what bootstraps? What bootstraps are you talking about? What are you saying? I remember I went to a conference in my 20s. I can't remember the name of the conference. It was like a big deal for women entrepreneurs. I was invited by my mentor. It was the whole thing. And I remember being so irritated the entire time because the conversations just, I'm like, it was so confusing to me. It was so confusing to me. There was a previous supermodel who decided to get into tech. Dope, cool, love that. And she was just talking about like being in the boardroom and kind of being shut down for like, $1 million. And she's like, it's so frustrating, being a woman. And I do want to put into context that she is a white woman, and that actually really does matter. I know people love to say that race isn't everything, but race is everything. It mattered because the fact that she was able to get into a room to even be able to pitch for $1 million when Black women entrepreneurs are constantly struggling to pay for day-to-day necessities to keep their business alive, I could not relate to that information. I'm like, so you went from being a supermodel, dope, we're not going to minimize that, to deciding to get into tech. Also, really cool pivot, very unique. But now you're venting to a whole bunch of women in the audience that have never been either. They've never been able to get into boardrooms with tech giants, and they also never been supermodels. And you're trying to relate the frustration, and where's how? How do I find empathy towards you being in a room where you were rejected for 1 million, but I think you received like 500,000, and that was your first time. And then eventually you started to receive those $1 million and multi-million dollar grants. That is a very hard thing for people to connect with when they are trying to figure out how to get their first $5,000. I'm always surprised. I'm like, there's the level of disconnect here. It's supposed to be inspiring, but when the gap between who your audience is and where they're at and where you're at is too wide, you're not going to inspire. You're just not going to. You need people who are a few steps ahead. You know, once there's a big gap, you need a new audience. But that's just free game. Okay. I'm doing that book with my. Oh, you are cool. Yay. Yep. Free land, stolen, free labor. Yep. Exactly. Yes. I love you guys so much. It's making me so happy. Stay-at-home moms whose hubbies makes. Yes. They're like, oh my goodness. They're giving speeches. I remember there was a speech where this guy was like, my wife took care of the kids, held me down. I was out here grinding every day, away from them weeks at a time, barely seeing my kids, barely seeing my wife. And I'm like, but that is what made me successful. I'm like, how? But she was taking care of everything. Everything. Your doctor visits. She was scheduling those things, making sure that you ate, making sure that you slept properly, that you were hydrated. That she was also like there was so much there. And you're accrediting it to you choosing not to be actively involved in your children and your wife's life. I've seen so many things where I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And now you're giving me advice on how to be successful when now I'm realizing that you actually built your success off the backs of other people. I should be asking your wife. Shouldn't be speaking to you. Why are you on stage? Used to always blow my mind. But patriarchy. A friend was a Black woman, picked me up at the hospital. She co-owns home health business, and we got her connected with hospital case managers. You never know. Oh my God, that's so dope. That's really dope. Lotus, so let me add that the lazy procrastination conversation, after I was in the car accident, it took me a year for the reflex to settle down. And I could not, my art as medicine because, I cannot use my art as medicine because it opened up ancestral trauma around creativity, think having children sold off. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 6 years later, my nervous system now resetting to my natural rhythm, which is much slower. Yep. Than I've been conditioned. But it makes sense because I'm a Taurus. Yep. We talked about this. But the epigenetic coding for Black women to be on high alert all the time truly requires its own process because it's cellular. All that to say, I realized on this leg of the healing journey, that my creativity isn't gone. It's been locked behind a sacred vault. Carla, just know that when we get to creative U-turns, you're going to be like, we're about to have a big heart-to-heart moment. Just keep that in mind, okay? Yes. Just because, yes, I did some research and I was like, oh, this is wildly different for Black women, isn't it? And I'm going to share what I found because you shared that comment. I just feel like I need to share that part. So we'll get to there, but let's get on to the second essay, which is enthusiasm. This is my favorite essay, y'all. I love it so much. I thought this was really good. And we're going to dive in deep. Okay? Enthusiasm. It must take so much discipline to be an artist. We are often told by well-meaning people who are not artists, but wish they were. What a temptation. What a seduction. They're inviting us to preen before an admiring audience to act out the image that is so heroic and Spartan and false. As artists, grounding our self-image in military discipline is dangerous. In the short run, discipline may work, but it will work only for a while. By its very nature, discipline is rooted in self-admiration. I have something to say about that, but I want to finish this part first. Think of discipline as the battery, useful but short-lived. We admire ourselves for being so wonderful. The discipline itself not the creative flow becomes the point. So I want to pause here really quickly because I was taught that for discipline, that militant discipline, that's very toxic, very patriarchal, very whitewashed, very bootstrappy. And then I had a spiritual mother talk to me about discipline. I was like, I struggle with discipline. She was like, no, you don't. You're actually extremely disciplined. I'm like, girl, I don't know what you're seeing, but you're not seeing me. I'm not disciplined. And she broke down that discipline in itself means to be a disciple of, to study. And when you are disciplined, you are studying yourself. And you're not just studying yourself, you're studying yourself with a capital S, which is what Ilanya Venzat uses a lot to describe our higher selves. So to be disciplined is to study yourself lovingly. Once she said that to me, it's like all the gears clicked into place. And I was like, oh, discipline, studying myself lovingly. This is an act of devotion. Oh, I do this. Whoa. And it made it so much more easier for me to accept that truth. I don't I do agree with her about the militant discipline. I do think there are different ways to define discipline, but to kind of demonize it altogether, I feel like is not what I would do. Once I learned that I get to be a disciple of myself, of my highest self, and I get to study me and see what works and what doesn't so that I can pivot and grow, it changed the game for me and how I was able to show up and get work done. It also allowed me to have more grace and compassion for myself. Because when you're studying yourself, time doesn't exist anymore. There is no deadline on Friday, like we talked about earlier, right? It is, I am taking time to unravel, to peel back all of this information, all of this life that I've lived, to see what gets to stay and what is going to be lovingly let go. So I have space for more. And not more to pull in from the outer world, but more space to unfold internally, to be that thousand petal lotus flower, right? And to really begin to reveal all these other aspects of myself. We cannot do that if we are not studying ourselves. You do need to be disciplined in that way, to be a disciple of self, to study who you are lovingly. That also means studying your ancestry. That also means studying where you come from. That also means studying what you like and dislike. There's so much there to discover. And if you don't allow yourself the space and time to do that, you will always feel like you are not giving your best to your creativity or your artistry. And the truth is you probably aren't. Because where's the art coming from? If you don't know who you are, where you come from, where is your art coming from? Where's your creativity pouring in from? I know we love to say the collective consciousness, and I agree to a certain extent, but I also feel like when I got clear on who I was and where I came from, it was a lot easier for me to decipher and know what was for me and what wasn't for me, and what I was ready to express and what I wasn't ready to express. It's what led me to create the creative chakra code so that I can help other people do the same thing. But it was really me understanding myself. So I want to just clarify that because I genuinely disagreed with her on the whole discipline thing. I was like, girl, yeah, but also here's a perspective. And sometimes we need to look at things in a different way for it to be beneficial to us. Discipline is necessary, just not the discipline she's speaking about. Okay? Let me see. Hi, Candace. Yes, creative tutor. Yes, no. I'm so excited. We're having so much fun. Okay, okay. Um, yes. Yeah, Jack, you get it. Methinks it's part of why you're an alternative universe. A disciple, yes. Yes. Thank you. It's amazing to witness everyone healing, growing, becoming. This whole world will benefit. Everyone in spirit celebrating. Thank you for you. Thank you, Jack. Yes, yeah. Auntie Alanya, she began us together. She's she's an auntie. I'm like, I hope that as I get older, I'm not as problematic, but I don't know. When you live a lot of life, it's really as I get older, I realize more and more that life is there's a way in which it wants to shape you. And either you're gonna go along with that or you might resist. And I'm not sure either way, you're being molded though. You know what I mean? Whether you're going against the grain or not. And it's something to keep in mind. Like, it's something I'm always thinking about in the back of my head of like, I like to think that the core of who I am will remain the same because it has been for so long. There are just certain things about me that have been the same since I was a baby to where I am now. Hi, down, right? Like, I've always been this way. And then I'm like, life happens, and I'm like, oh man, I hope these things don't change. But then I'm like, it's okay to change because I might evolve and grow into something that is sweeter and kinder for all I know, right? These are thoughts I have in my head as an artist. Yeah. Yeah. Because Auntie Lanya be on her P's and Q's, and there are other times I'm like, girl, what are we doing? Why are we saying this, Auntie? Is this necessary? I feel like not for this generation. And I hope that I'm mindful of the generations I'm speaking to. That's all. Okay. Also, that discipline, when you're looking at it as a study of self, it allows you to be sustainable in your artistic pursuits so that you don't lose the plot, right? So she talks about this when she brings up enthusiasm, and I'm going to talk about that in a few. But it's enthusiasm over self will, because self will is that bootstrap energy. If I'm going to force myself to get this done, and enthusiasm is I'm in alignment with source, and source is going to pour through me, and I'm going to express myself beautifully. Okay. That part of us that creates best is not a driven discipline automation, functioning from willpower with a booster of pride to back it up. This is operating out of self will. You know the image, rising at dawn with military precision, saluting the desk, the easel, the drawing board. She's so dramatic. Over an extended period of time, being an artist requires enthusiasm more than discipline. Enthusiasm is not an emotional state. It is a spiritual commitment, a loving surrender to our creative process, a loving recognition of all the creativity around us. Enthusiasm from the Greek, filled with God. Just that alone was just like enthusiasm. When you're enthusiastic, it means that you are filled with God. You are filled with source. I don't know about you. Every time I hear that, I'm like, oh, yes, that's exactly how it feels when you're enthusiastic. But then you start asking yourself, how often am I enthusiastic? How often am I filled with source? How often am I filled with God? Especially when it comes to my creativity. And if you find yourself answering that it's not often, this is where we need to refocus our energy. How do we get back to being enthusiastic? Because, yes, enthusiasm is an ongoing energy supply tapped into the flow of life itself. Enthusiasm is grounded in play, not work. Far from being a brain numbed soldier, our artist is actually our child within and our inner playmate. As with all playmates, it is joy, not duty, that makes for a lasting bond. True, our artist may rise at dawn to greet the typewriter or easel in the morning stillness, but this event has more to do with a child's love of secret adventure than with ironclad discipline. What other people may view as discipline is actually a play date that we make with our artist child. I'll meet you at 6 a.m. and we'll goof around with that script, painting, sculpture, etc. Our artist child can best be enticed to work by treating work as play. Paint is great, gooey stuff. 60 sharpened pencils are fun. Many writers eschew a computer for a comforting, companionable clatter for a solid typewriter that trots along like a pony. In order to work well, many artists find that their workspaces are best dealt with as play spaces. I love that. And in the after party note, I'm going to talk about how neural arts and play for productivity go hand in hand with this, because there's play literally does something to your brain on top of that, by the way. Like, and then when you add in the beauty of it, when she described how just to shift the perspective of like waking up at 6 a.m. to get work done and how I don't know if you saw it, but for me, I instantly thought like gray, dreary, a little cold even. You know, there's reluctancy. But then thinking about it like a secret meetup with my inner artist to play around, to let my desires come out to play, I instantly lit up with that visual of like, yes, I would love to do that with my inner artist, with my inner child, to have these play dates. When's the last time that you had a play date? for yourself, not for the kids in your life. But hopefully that was recent, right? But for yourself, when's the last time you had a play date? Especially when it came to your creativity, a play date. Like, I'm gonna show up to write these next scenes for my book, but it's because I want to be imaginative. I want to really immerse myself in this world that I'm building and put it out on paper. If we began to really practice playing more when it comes to our creativity and our artistry, not only will we get more done, but again, this is not about completion, but I know that for some people, results matter, right? We would enjoy ourselves. We would really have fun. And in us having fun, we would be so detached from the outcome and how people receive us that it wouldn't lower our self confidence when people don't get it. It almost is a, if you don't get it, you have to be there kind of moment. And I feel like that is so healthy for artists to have, to be able to say, it's okay that you don't understand how I have fun. Point is that I have fun. That changes how you show up and want to express yourself to the world. You no longer care about the judgment or how people are going to perceive you. That doesn't even matter because you're so fulfilled. You're so filled with enthusiasm, right? Filled with God that you're riding that high. That is your main focus. I love everything about that. I want all artists to resonate with that, to feel that. And it's always so, it's a little disheartening for me because it's so far in the book. And I know it's because you need to build up to understand this. I think putting this in the beginning of the book may not always connect with people, but people don't get this far in the 12-week journey to even hear how beautiful this could be. And I always just like a little sad, you know? But so good. Okay. Dinosaur murals, toys from the five and dime, tiny miniature Christmas lights, paper mache monsters, hanging crystals, a sprig of flowers, a fish tank. As attractive as the idea of a pristine cell is in its severity, sometimes it's like, girl, she drives the message home though. Is to our romanticized notion of being a real artist, the workable truth may be somewhat messier than that. Most little kids would be bored silly in a stark, barren room. Our artist child is no exception. I also want to point out too that for the hospital, children's hospitals, that is why they began adding color and things like that to the ward. That's why usually, not all the time, because I haven't been to every hospital in this country, but when I visit hospitals, when I was younger, when I was a kid, I remember the difference of it being warm and more fun in the children's ward, and then going to like the adult ward and it just being like, I just want to get out of here as soon as possible. Even when I take my nieces and my nephews for their checkups, there's bright colors, there's usually music playing. It's a part of the healing process because children really do thrive off of joy. So if you even have that understanding and you apply that to this, it changes how you show up in your creative field, right? It makes you want to put a bit more effort into decoration, into ambiance, into the atmosphere. Does it feel good? Like my room is decorated for me to feel really good, to teach, to feel satiated. My home is decorated the same way. These are things that I like to look at. Things I have to be surrounded by beauty. I actually truly malfunction when I am not in beautiful spaces or around beautiful people. I'm a completely different person. I'm like, it's like being in the desert with no water. I cannot function. And because I know that about myself, it is why I've centered my life around studying beauty and things like that, because I know without it, I feel like I'm dying and I just don't want to feel like that. But when you apply it to this understanding of making your creative space more fun, more playful, I encourage you to try to see what you can do to add something to make it more playful and then see how it feels to write or to paint or to draw or to choreograph or whatever it is that you're doing for your expression. See if there's a fluidity there that wasn't there before. And if you feel like it's not, add some more stuff, add some more color, make it as creative as possible. As a society, our understanding of beauty is going out the window. Everything is so square. It's so bland. It's so neutral. The architecture is gone from the world. The beautiful doorknobs, the the way that the windows would be shaped in certain buildings. You can see it a lot in Philadelphia when you have like the older buildings that are being upheld because they are historical landmarks, and the intricacy and like the brickwork and the detailing and the iron, all that. And then the newer buildings that are just very sleek, but they're just boxes. They're just boxes. There's nothing creative per se. And I don't know, it feels very 1984 George Orwell type of energy. When there's not enough color, I feel like there's not enough life. And as someone who absolutely loves the color black, I say that with an awareness too. Does that make sense? Okay. Let me just finish this part and I'll get into the comments. Remember that art is a process. The process is supposed to be fun. For our purposes, the journey is always the only arrival. May be interpreted to mean that our creative work is actually our creativity itself at play in the field of time. At the heart of this play is the mystery of joy. Okay? That's my favorite essay of this book. Hopefully you see why. Okay. Here we go. And Theos in Greek, literally filled with God. Yes. I had a play date with my daughter. I colored. Yes. Oh my God. I'm already so excited seeing this. I colored at the restaurant after we ate while she was doing college work. It was relaxing. Yes. 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 Secret adventure. Remember those as kids, pretending in the woods, yes, or abandoned house, even though we were on nights. Yeah, like we were definitely doing it in unsafe spaces. I know for me, we used to have like this tunnel in my backyard. My backyard in my childhood home was big. We had like a little pond that we used to have fish in, but then more kids came. My grandmother was like, I'm not dealing with y'all, fall into this pond. So she took out the water. Bummer, but it's okay. Had a little hill, this big willow tree. And then we had bushes that connected to the next house, and we would go through it and we would prune them. Mind you, there's like poison ivy back there. It was a mess. But it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Like, sure, we got poison ivy. Sure, it wasn't great. But the adventure of crawling through the tunnel and going to a different land, we were really obsessed with Narnia at the time. We were all reading the books at the house. So having that mystical energy there, it was just so much fun. I think about my childhood backyard and I think about all of the games and the adventures that I played, the climbing in the trees, the meeting with my neighbors and having them come over, and us playing tag or us playing some type of Mission Impossible game that truly I could never tell you how we made up the rules, but the rules always made sense and we always had a good time. That was a part of childhood. That was also a part of our ability to grow, to use critical thinking. There's so much in play. I'm gonna explore that in the after party notes for sure, because I did a whole I don't want to say dissertation, but part of being in education, I had to focus in on something, and my main focus was play. And as to why it was, I went to a TEDx talk in Harlem, and it blew my mind because they were talking about productivity and play. And this is when they introduced in New York City, city summer streets, when they had these weekends in the summertime when they were shut down. A lot of other cities have adopted it. I don't know if it started in New York City, but I know when it was introduced into the city. And they stop certain streets from there being cars. You could bike ride, you could skateboard, they had different activations there, like wall climbing, rock climbing, or zip lining, all the different things. And the goal was to get New Yorkers out to be more creative, to go and play, to enjoy the city, also to shop around the other stores that would be there conveniently. Of course, capitalism is always there. But the goal was to get us to play more, to see if it was going to allow the city to um, heal and also have a creative boost. I'm not sure what the results were for that. You may have to look that up. But I do know that when I started going to city summer streets and then when I worked there as a model, I loved it. People were just so genuinely happy being able to try these different things out and to play more and to just enjoy their lives. It was a good time. Yes, she was channeling this book. Yes, yes, yes. Rachel, those mom moments shared. are amazing that night, talking about how boys are raised. And you said, I'm going to hug my son right now. I love this. My kids love their children's hospital for that reason. Yep. My daughter just transitioned to adult care. Oh, God. Whew, I remember the day. It was a shock to her system. It aids in the healing. It was. It was. I was just like, y'all want me to stay here? Oh, I was devastated. 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 It's all by design. You don't want to spark free thinking. It's happening globally, trying to remove color from spaces. Agreed. Agreed, Rachel. Hearing this section is making me think about my current work from another angle. I feel like I'm working on a version of this book for Black women and radicalized and marginalized people because there is a deeper layer of discipline we are required to access to survive, but there is no credit for survival, only how we live. So we don't see how well we can be and are. Yeah, yes. When you shift out of survivalist mentality, it's almost disorienting. Yeah, I think that's where play and enthusiasm takes a whole new meaning. I've always, sorry, there we go, had a richer inner life, but couldn't find safe spaces to externalize it. But play is what makes us feel the world as belonging to us as much as we belong to it. Yes, but I find it's been hard openly getting reoriented in that energy. It isn't afforded to historical marginalized people. Yep. So we have been very intentional about giving it ourselves and sharing it freely as well. I feel like that's also what's important about archiving, because I was having this conversation with my sister. So we were joking about, honestly joking about the time in which we live in. And we're just like, you know, heading to the plantation. We're just saying, and we're like, oh, okay, we got to stop because I don't want the ancestors to be mad at me. But we were joking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like this natural thing for Black folks in general, because I can only speak to my experience, where we joke about things where it's just like, should we be joking about this? Probably not. But we as a people have this instinctive way to find joy in the most chaotic of situations. Like, for centuries, the collective society has tried to pull this away from us as Black folks, and we have always found joy. We have always been able to crack a joke. Always. We have always been able to find the funny in the fear. Always. And I feel like there are archivals out there that will show us the joy, that will show us where we were able to persevere because of joy. I think that's why a lot of like Black cinema, when we're talking about like historical context, I think like Red Tail and things like that. Even with like Sinners, right? There's always that comedic relief within the culture, no matter how severe it gets. Of like, damn, they're about to be vampires that we're gonna have to fight, but we're gonna crack a little joke real quick to get the spirits up. You know, I feel like they're more intertwined than maybe we are aware of or acknowledging. But like joy is always there the same way that grief is always there. I often say that grief and joy are twin sisters, two sides of the same coin. They both are prevalent in pretty much every moment. And every moment you can access grief, and every moment you can access joy. Every single moment. At least as long as I've been alive, I can experience both on a whim. And the more that I realize that, the more that I begin to lean into that access and remind myself of that truth, that it is very much there. A really good book that I would suggest, uh, Joy Goddess by Alelia Bundles. She's the great granddaughter of Madam J. Walker. I had the blessing of meeting her in June and fangirling out and reading her book. And it is about Alelia Walker and her journey and her being deemed the joy goddess of the Harlem Renaissance and what that looked like. And what a lot of people don't realize is that while the Harlem Renaissance was happening, there were renaissances happening in other parts of the world too, and in other parts of the country, excuse me, and in the world, because she traveled around the world too. But there was also the Red Summer, where Black people were being brutally killed for no reason, none. No matter how they try to justify it, there was no reason to kill Black people like that. It was disgusting. That was happening at the exact same time. It's actually what helped to catalyze one of the many experiences where Black folks were like, we have to find our joy. We have to. Like, joy is like that last frontier before your spirit is dissolved, before your spirit is killed. Like, joy is everything. And I know we feel like when people are suffering or going through things, it feels insensitive to share your joy. And I've always been an advocate for sharing your joy, sharing your happiness as much as possible, because it helps to disrupt what we have been taught, which is that in survival, there is no space and no room for joy. You just got to get it out the mud and hope one day you'll thrive. There's still joy there, even in surviving. There's still joy there. I think about Toni Morrison. I think about Audre Lorde. I think about Maya Angelou, reading a lot of their work, seeing a lot of their interviews, and how they still found space and time to be joyful, to find the funny in the situation when they were literally being attacked by a country for being Black women and for writing about the Black experience. They were still finding joy. So I do feel like, yes, many of us were raised in this understanding that it was just dark and grim and it was so hard. But I do feel like there are more information coming out where we are able to see that joy has been there all along. And it's actually been the thing that kept us alive. It's why we have persevered as a people for so long. And it's why that despite no matter how many systems they put in place to try to diminish us, to try to divide us, we still are here, thriving, surviving, living, loving, and laughing. And it's the joy that aggravates them the most. When we're struggling and we're miserable, especially as Black people, as Black women, it's a vibe. They love that. Love a strong Black woman. Love a Black woman that's exhausted, that hates people, that is so angered by the system, that it's just like, love that. That makes us feel great. When we start to feel good about ourselves, when we start to feel happy and excited and joyful, and we share that, it is a swift attack on our well-being. And that can be proven just recently from the 300,000 Black women that were laid off. I don't find it coincidental at all that prior to those things happening and that wave, when people were asking Black women to be at the front lines, to do these things, and they were all saying no, and people were like, oh, you guys don't care anymore. And it's like, no, actually, we have constantly been at the front line. Y'all have built things on our backs for centuries. All the major movements are because of Black women. Whether y'all want to admit it or not, do your history, do your homework. Especially within this country, Black women. Black Panther Party, Black women. Civil rights, Black women. We had to play the game because we understood that we lived in a patriarchy. And unfortunately, if we were at the front and center, it wouldn't matter. Even the women's rights movement, Black women. Though we credit Susan B. Anthony and later on Gloria Steinem, it was Black women. It was always us. We were always doing that work. Always. So when we finally decided that we are wealthy enough, and wealth, in different ways, that could be spiritually, financially, emotionally, we are in a good space as Black women, as a collective, in this country in particular, to say, actually, y'all got it. Actually, I don't want to do this. Actually, I've done this. Actually, my grandmother's done this. My mother, my aunties, they've all done this for y'all. And you guys continue to throw it away and spit in our faces every chance you get. So y'all are good. You got this. Sending you love and blessings. Soon as we said that, all of a sudden, we're like, we're going to stay home. We're going to plan our trips. We're going to connect with each other, do our Pilates. We're going to love on each other, right? We were all saying this. It was happening on social media, all these videos, these things coming out, everything. Out of nowhere, Black women start losing their jobs in power positions because we started to express joy. Because we started to say, like, actually, I'm just going to choose to be happy. And being on the front lines, knowing that if it is just about us, that y'all will not be here, it doesn't make me happy. And I'm in a space now where I get to choose something differently that honors who I am and honors what my ancestors could not choose for themselves. Instantly, there was a wave of loss. Instantly, policy was being changed. All of a sudden, there's protests happening and no one is being arrested or shot or killed. These are things that I want us to be aware of. And yes, this ties into you being an artist. Art is political. If you don't think that it's political, you don't understand art. And you probably need to run it back. This may not be the book to start with. She doesn't talk about art being political at all, but I don't expect her to. She has a different experience with art. However, art has always been political. It will always be political. But yeah, joy is always there. Joy is always there. I just think we gotta remember that. I hope that that answers, or like not even answers, but like just kind of expands the thought process around your creative journey. You know what I mean? Like it's there. It's definitely there. Okay. Rachel, absolutely. The atmosphere, the energy is huge. We're angelic beings. Yes. Sorry for the essays, y'all. Carla, don't ever apologize. That's one thing. Don't do it. Don't apologize here. Share the information, share the insights. If it takes me time to read it, we'll all be patient. I mean, y'all can read it too, but I'm reading it for people who may not see the words in the replay. That's why I'm reading it out loud. However, it's necessary. It's coming up because it's going to add to what we're speaking about. I always want to enrich our conversations, and I do not expect to do it alone. I am not a perfect princess when it comes to this. Being able to tap in to read the comments that y'all leave means everything to me. It's the only reason why I like going live. It's not just to teach this information and get out of my head. It's to build on it, to connect, to be in flow with other creatives operating in flow. It nourishes me. And I know if it's doing that for me, it's definitely doing that for anybody else. So you never have to apologize for sharing your genius here. Never. Never have to apologize for it at all. I honestly, I prefer it. Please continue to share your creativity, your mind, the way you process things with us. It is safe to do here, and it is genuinely welcomed and appreciated, especially by me. Carla, wow, you were so on it. Yep, see? Beautiful what you're doing. Thank you for sharing. I'm just blown away how deeply you're in it. Mm-hmm. Carla, poison ivy, learning about plant medicine. Exactly. Like now we know this leaf leaves a little bit of a rash. We live and we learn. I love that for us. Narnia, yes, magical. Spaceships, yes, yes, yes. Rachel, I still remember a portal in the woods in front of our first apartment when we came here. I was 4. There was a whole story of a witch and a random hat I found. What? That's so cool. I wasn't even reading the books. Like I said, I was 4 and memory just returned to me again. Oh my goodness. Not us unlocking childhood memories. Oh my God, I'm getting so excited. I'm like sweating now. Oh my gosh. I love that. Yes, I love it too. Yes, like human, no matter how dark. So true. The unbelievable resilience and oppression and survival. Yeah, we all do it because of jealousy. Red Summer 1919. Yep, Chicago area and other cities. Thank you for sharing that, Jack. Yes, archivist memory. Yep. Oh my gosh, please little phone work with me. This is why when an oppressor conquers, the first thing that they do is take the language and the story so it's easier to revise history. 1,000% on it, on the money. History is retained through storytelling, not through fact checking. Oh, Carla, we also probably need to get on the phone together and kiki because I swear to you, like, as a woman in science, I get on people's nerves when I say that. I get on people's nerves when I say that. Y'all love to do this fact, data. Heard you. But where you get this information from? Who did the study? Who did the study? Did they consider other people, or are they just talking about this specific group of people? That's why we got the information about women becoming geriatric in their pregnancies and things like that. There was a study off of like 12, maybe 20 white women in like a obscure space in time. And I'm like, what that got to do with the rest of us? Now we're all geriatric because y'all did one study. There's no consideration to the multitude of life experiences when we're talking about things that are just data and fact checked. And it really is irritating to me how we will put that above storytelling, above these metaphors and ancestral technology. I'll even go that deep to say that. Storytelling is an ancestral technology. It is something that somehow has survived hundreds upon hundreds of years for a reason. And we're hyper obsessed with fact checking. And it is necessary because sometimes people just put shit out there and you're like, what are you talking about? So there is a delicacy. There is a need for both. But to put one higher than the other, if I was going to, it would be the art of storytelling. It is exactly why when I was deepening my practice with hoodoo, when I was learning more about, Black Madonna, about Oshun, about Medusa, these are deities that I really feel connected to and feel covered by. I would get really frustrated when I was younger because I'm like, where's the book? Where's the tangible information? And I'm gonna get so angry because I felt like, why is everything oral? And there's so many layers to that, first and foremost. There's so many reasons why a lot of the stories we are told in Black and brown communities are oral. And this book here, Women Who Run with the Wolves, explores why that is too. So many different reasons. But once I understood the importance of being able to relay tone, right? To relay nuance through voice, that also voice is medicine. When you're telling a story, when you're sharing information, you're sharing life force. You're pouring into someone. When you guys hear my voice, I'm pouring into you, into the mind, into the body, into the spirit. It is a part of the learning. It is not just what we can read in a book or what stats we can find. There's so much more to storytelling, to being a storyteller, to evoke emotion, to unlock memories. That is a part of the technology. It's a part of the ancestral technology that we all have access to when we use our voices and when we share the stories of ourselves, of our ancestors. It's one of the things that you do in ancestral veneration is to share their stories. Share stories about those who have lived before you, especially if you've gotten to experience it yourself. That is how you keep their energy alive. That's how you honor them, by telling their stories. Sometimes they're cautionary stories, sometimes it's for fun, other times it's inspiring. And I want us to get back to that even more as we move forward as a people, telling stories, leaning into that wisdom. It's beautiful. It's beautiful and it's necessary. That's something that I still struggle with today when I think about my biological grandmother and how little I know about her. I only get pieces of who she was because she passed away when I was 4. I only get pieces of that through the stories in which people who were alive to witness her tell me. And I'm always fascinated by how incredible of a person she was. I wouldn't know any of that information without storytelling. The way that I'm able to have healing hands or a honey tongue, these are things that I learned through storytelling, through someone taking the time out to tell me a story. It's so potent. It's like the nectar of life to be able to tell a story, to bring someone on a journey that can open up their mindset, open up their heart, that could quite possibly change the trajectory of their life by hearing a story, that can teach them rights from wrongs, best choices to make, that can keep them safe, that can encourage them to fly. Storytelling does that for us, especially Black and brown people. It is the quilt of who we are. It is what keeps us warm. Okay? I don't know. That just really, yeah, I don't know where that came from, but it was necessary to say. I have no idea what triggered that. I feel like I just came back to the moment. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yes. History is retained through storytelling, not through fact checking. Yep. That comes later. And the joking through grief is literally embedded into many West African grief practices. Yes. It's cellular. Like you said before. Jack, the joy could not be extinguished. The ancestors are absolutely transcendent. Yes, Rachel. The Harlem Renaissance was because we didn't have our money. I'm sorry. The Harlem Renaissance was because we didn't have our money in those banks because we were shut out. So the stock crash didn't affect us to some degree. Yeah. Then ignorant folks were hating. You can't kill the spirit. Yep. These layoffs about to create a new renaissance. Yep. They don't know what's coming. They surely don't. Because not y'all giving highly educated Black women who are well rested. Not y'all giving us time to do things. It's like sometimes you don't like you what is it, to spite your nose? You cut off your something that I forgot what the phrase is. But like you do something thinking it's gonna get at that person only to mess yourself up because not you giving me time to really think. We were being extraordinary with all these limitations and a full-time job. You just took away the biggest distraction. What do you expect to happen? Our spirits don't falter like that. They just don't. For whatever reason it is, there's hundreds of years of proof that show you that. We just don't falter. Actually, when we get into the next essay on creative U-turns, you're going to see exactly what I'm saying about how we just don't falter. I don't know if it's genetics, it could be epigenetics. I'm not 100% sure, but Black women's spirit does not falter. Even if we wanted to. There are times where I would love to just give up. Just stop. Really and truly. Like I'm done. This is a lot. And I feel the feeling, and there is something in me every single time. It feels like an inner fire, and it melts away that desire, even when I don't want it to. Sometimes I'm trying to quell the fire and be like, girl, no, I really don't want to do this anymore. I'm good. I don't want to continue. I'm actually okay. No, it comes up. Sometimes I can feel it as my grandma, as my nana. Sometimes it's the fire of my auntie. There's a fire in me that will never go out. Sometimes the flame is a little small because life is a little heavy, but that flame is always there. I cannot be extinguished. It will just always be there. And I feel like that is a feeling a lot of Black women who have the time to explore themselves, who have the time to regulate their nervous system, who have the time to really pay attention to their journey can agree to. It's like you really do want to stop. And then something, whoosh, this fire comes up and you're like, all right. And maybe it's resilience. I do have a interesting relationship with the word. Me and resilience sometimes it's like, it's up there with strength where I'm like, not too much. But it comes up and I'm just like, I'm going to, not only am I going to get through this, because I am, clearly, I'm going to get through this thing, but I always end up setting some new precedents, whether I want to or not. It's never really the goal. It truly is never, I'm never trying to go above and beyond, y'all. It just happens to be that way because I'm literally standing on the shoulders of giants. I don't think I really have much of another choice. Like I've tried to go into obscurity. I always get course corrected. I promise you that I've tried. And it's just like all right, fill it for a few hours, fill it for a day, but baby, your purpose is set, babes. I know I'm not the only person that feels that way. But yeah. Ay, Dios mío. Yes, like Jack said, built off the backs of Black women. Yep, now we're doing for the U.S. Yes, yes, yes. People think you need a job to go to work. We know better. Yep. A whole word, Carl. Yep. We deep down know who you are, and it usually scares the shit out of us as guys and white folks or both. Rachel, I'm working on this nap. Yes, Carla, I'm working on this booty. I know that right. Same, Carla. Oh my goodness, I'm working on this glow. I'm working on this love, this softness, this good food, this nice home. Yes, yes, yes. Ashe. Yes, you are not in that number. Yeah, yeah, Jack, you truly are not. Carla, surely not. I'm surely not. You guys are hilarious. Thank you, Lotus. You're helping me by being a mirror. Thank you for allowing me to be a mirror. Because the fact that I get to be a mirror for you, it's an ancestral blessing. Like, okay. Cute, 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 cute. Love this for me. Yes. My spouse has actually said those words to me. I'm scared for what you fully step into the power of who you are. Yeah. I'm scared for when you fully step into the power of who you are. I used to think it was my problem When I learned it was his problem, not mine, it freed me. Yep. They either get in line or duck for cover. Yep. I say it all the time. Oof. Don't get in my way. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just, if it's not for you, it's not for you. I respect it, but that's also the New York in me. Don't get in my way. Just move over. Yes, the building is pretty. Love that. Move over. People have places to be. Okay? Yes. Carlo, what is the story behind the study? And what story does the study want to tell? Yes, artists belong everywhere. Exactly. And such technology. Yes, yes, yes. Rachel, yes, you are literally glorious and precious queens. Literally, it's the natural order here on Gaia. I'm here to love and to serve you. Oh, Jack, so sweet. I cannot take it. So thankful for Abiola Abrams, Queen of Four, and others who have long lasted channeled the oral into sacred books. Yes, I am also grateful for them as well. Agreed. Storytelling is the quilt that keeps us warm. Yes. The written word resonates once it's spoken. Ashe. I wish I could screenshot these things. Somebody needs to translate what's on the tablet, on the page, through and out of the body. Otherwise, it's just a case like all other creative things. Yep. Oh, yeah, creative U-turns. I'm going to be quiet now, y'all, I promise. Yeah, we're going to get to it right now. Highly educated, rested Black woman, mainstream society's worst nightmare. And it should be. Yes. Yes, the written word decaying without living embodiment. That's a word. That's exactly the problem with calcified doctrine and hierarchy of religion, government, etc. I'm feeling your insights as cold water in the face. It's remarkable. Did you ever wonder what it's like for me to witness y'all? It's like Northern Lights or a rainbow. Oh my goodness, I love, I love, I love. All right, I'm gonna moisturize my lips because it's necessary. Like, it's actually cracking me up because I'm thinking about my niece and how she's been using my lip gloss. And I just got it, y'all. I'm just like, this is the part of the village where I'm like, can I just get you your own? And then I get it for her and she don't use it. Kids, they bring such joy to your life. After driving you crazy, of course. All right, now we're gonna get into creative U-turns. Actually, before we do that, I'm gonna drink some water. I don't know if you guys have had water yet, but let's do that. I'm drinking some Pedialyte because I was a little dehydrated, and y'all know how I feel about dehydration. Okay, let's get into it. Creative U-turns. Recovering from artist block, like recovering from any major illness or injury, requires a commitment to health. At some point, we must make an active choice to relinquish the joys and privileges accorded to the emotional invalid. A productive artist is quite often a happy person. This can be very threatening as a self concept to those who are used to getting their needs met by being unhappy. I love to, but you see, this crippling fear of can get us a lot of attention. We get more sympathy as crippled artists than as functional ones. I would also like to say, like, with the exception of like Black women, because I don't think that is something we are afforded a luxury to do. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. Those of us addicted to sympathy in the place of creativity can become increasingly threatened as we become increasingly functional. Many recovering artists become so threatened that they make U-turns and sabotage themselves. We usually commit creative harakiri either on the eve of or in the wake of a first creative victory. I did not look up that word, so I have no idea. Harakiri, Haraki. If someone can look it up and drop the definition so that we all can learn together, that'd be great because she didn't put it in here. But I'm assuming we make a faux pas. That's what I'm going to say. Context clues, critical thinking. Okay. So we usually commit creative harakiri either on the eve of or in the wake of a first creative victory. The glare of success, a poem, an acting job, a song, short film, short story, any type of success can send the recovering artist scurrying back to its cave of self-defeat. We are more comfortable being a victim of artist block than risking having to consistently be productive and healthy. An artistic U-turn arrives on a sudden wave of indifference. We greet our newly minted product or our delightful process with, "Oh, what does it matter anyhow? It's just a start. Everybody else is so much more further ahead." And yes, and they will stay that way if we stop working. The point is we have traveled light years from where we were when we were blocked. We are now on the road and the road is scary. We begin to we begin to get distracted by roadside attractions or detoured by the bumps. These are the examples she gives. A screenwriter has the agent interested in repping a script with just a few changes. He doesn't make the changes. A performance artist is offered a space to shop their new material. He does it once, doesn't like his mixed reception, indicating more work is needed, then stops working on new material at all. An actor is told to get his headshots together and checks back in with the prestigious agent. He doesn't get his headshots and doesn't check back in. An actress producer with a solid script is offered a studio deal to further develop her project. She finds fault with the deal and then shelves the project entirely. A painter is invited into a group show, his first, but picks a fight with the gallery owner. A poet reads some poems to very good public reception at a neighborhood open mic. Instead of continuing at this level and gaining strength, the poet enters a slam, loses, and stops reading publicly altogether. A lyricist hooks up with a new composer, and they literally make beautiful music together. They demo 3 songs, which get enthusiastic responses, and then they stop working together. Okay? A fledgling photographer is greatly encouraged by her teacher's interest in her work. She botches developing one roll of film and then quits the class, claiming it boring. In dealing with our creative U-turns, we must first of all extend ourselves some sympathy. Creativity is scary, and in all careers, there are U-turns. Sometimes these U-turns are best viewed as recycling times. We come up with a creative jump, run out from it like a skittish horse, then circle the field a few times more before trying the fence again. Typically, when we take a creative U-turn, we are doubling shame. First, by our fear, and second, by our reaction to it. Again, let me say it helps to remember that all careers have them. For 2 years in my mid 30s, I wrote arts coverage for the Chicago Tribune. In this capacity, I spoke to a lot of famous people. Okay. I talked to most of them about discouragement, which meant talking to them about U turns. As much as talent, the capacity to avoid or recoup from creative U turns distinguished their careers. A successful career, a successful creative career is always built on successful creative failures. The trick is to survive them. It helps to remember that even our most illustrious artists have taken creative U turns in their time. So here's where we're going to differ from what's being said in the book. So she goes over a story of a director who was really good in comedy and did something amazing, ended up having his work being kicked out of his own work. Kind of like what happened with Steve Jobs and Apple. Like he was kicked out of his work. He retreated to the mountains, fortunate enough to be able to have a place in the mountains to go to for 7 years. He stayed there for those 7 years, licking his wounds, super sad. Oh my God, I can't be creative. And then eventually got back in the habit of showing up for himself and getting himself out of that creative U-turn. The reason why I don't go into detail about this story is because I don't see that it is relevant. And what I did is I did research on what Black women writers in particular had a similar experience with creative U-turns. And for me, when I think about the major names, I think about Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, Zora Neale Hurston, Audre Lorde, Maya Angelou. Even if you go outside of writing, Ava DuVernay, there were so many women I did research on to find what their creative U-turn was. And it is interesting because none of them retreated. None of them. And I genuinely believe it's because we were not afforded the opportunity to do so. I'm sure plenty of them would like to do that. The closest I got was Octavia Butler, who spent most of her 90s kind of regrouping, and it was because she was severely underfunded. That is the only reason why she had that gap. So I want to share what I found here and what I learned from this. So we have Octavia Butler was underfunded. She was underfunded with her genius, like many other Black women, and that caused her to have a creative block because she was not properly nourished by her environment. She was not able to find the funds to help her continue her work, despite being critically acclaimed at that time. She had already dropped The Parable of the Sower. She had dropped a few gems for us and was well known in the literary world and was not supported financially. Then you have Toni Morrison, who had to resist and reinforce her need to be there for her people and to share the story through a Black lens. And then when she was given the Pulitzer, people immediately were like, she doesn't deserve it. Despite the fact that she had like best-selling books that literally changed the literary game, she still was not afforded credibility. She never stepped back. I don't know if you were able to watch her documentary when it was on Netflix, but that was something I found to be fascinating. And she had did the work diligently. She didn't drop her first book till she was 39 years old. She spent all that time in publishing, being a senior editor at Random House, right? Helping to get Black voices out there. Essentially setting up a platform so when she did drop her debut book, The Bluest Eye, like it was able to have that motion, and people really responded well to it until she was up for that nomination. Then it was like, actually, they're depicting, white people as horrible people. Like, what's going on? She never talked about white people in her books. What's going on? They started making all these rules, all these things, right? Alice Walker was something similar when she dropped her books. She didn't get a chance to do a creative U-turn. So it was so interesting to me because I'm like, so what the hell were we doing? We had to continue moving on. We didn't have the opportunity to lick our wounds. And when we did, there was a quickness to it. And I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. Same thing with Audre Lorde. It wasn't until she was dealing with cancer that she like physically had to slow down. Maya Angelou had pivoted so much in her career from being a cook to being a sex worker to going across seas and becoming a performer and a dancer to eventually getting into singing, and then that became poetry, then that became activism. There were so many pivots. I guess that those would also be considered creative U-turns, but in the way in which it's described here is that you get your feelings hurt because someone's like your art, you step away, you come back, and the thing you're most frustrated about is the time that you spent licking your wounds when you could have been creating. That's the genuine purpose, the overall purpose of what she said for this particular story about this person who happens to be a white man who had the privilege to go to his house in the mountains and be upset for 7 years. I don't even understand how logistically that works because I unfortunately don't have that type of lifestyle right now, right? But I think about these incredible Black women writers and how they didn't have the luxury to retreat when things didn't go their way. And things did not go their way the entire time. They were constantly getting backlash. Constantly. Like all the time. And they were getting backlash because they were focusing in on Blackness. Then they were getting backlash because they were focusing in on womanhood. Then they were getting backlash because they were focusing on Black womanhood. Then they were getting back. It was a constant thing. And the only time that any of them retreated, even Zora Neale Hurston, when we were trying to go over what that creative U-turn could be, Zora Neale Hurston has contributed so much to like hoodoo in itself, but also to the Black literary world. And it was only because Alice Walker was able to find her unmarked grave that we even know that this woman was the genius that she was. She died destitute. A lot of the creative U-turn issues that Black women writers have had, at least the ones that I'm reframing right now and talking about, it was due to being underfunded because they were Black women. Despite the fact that people agree that they were geniuses and that their work was amazing, it absolutely was not going to be properly taken care of and funded. And it was going to be discredited as much as possible because who are you as a Black woman to be better than a white person? Or to really talk about whiteness in the ways in which they were doing in their books. Alice Walker got backlash because of how she depicted Black men. Her own people backlashed her. Same thing for Toni Morrison with Sula. There's so many examples, and I'm just like, it's so interesting how a creative U-turn is utterly different depending on how you identify and show up in the world. And I thought it was a missed opportunity for Julia not to express that. But I also realized that within her being a well-off white woman when she wrote this book, it was the farthest thing from her mind. She never mentioned race at all. And any of her examples, none of them are Black. None of them are Black. They're always middle-aged white folks. I think maybe there was one person she mentioned that was Black. That was it. Nobody indigenous, nobody that was Asian, nobody. Just white folks being creatives, which I thought was very interesting. But I wanted to share that here because when we were talking about it earlier, I feel like it was Carla's comment about like when to like what do we do? How do we get to do that U-turn? It's almost as if, and please add on to this, because right now I'm just speaking from what I'm feeling. It's almost as if like we really can't do U-turns. Almost as if like we're always on the path we need to be. And it comes back in hindsight later on in life or after you've gotten through that experience. Because as I'm thinking about these women and what I know about them in their lives and their careers, I'm just like, when did they have the opportunity to not do it? Even when Maya Angelou was mourning the assassination of Dr. MLK Jr., she still had to produce and write because she had to feed her family. She never had the opportunity to like just not do shit. I don't know. It was something that I thought was really interesting. And the more that I'm talking about it, the more infuriating it makes me. Like I'm infuriated of just like, wow, I really can't think of anybody that had the opportunity to like go away and come back. Because our livelihoods were so tied to our artistry. And I do also believe that the reason why we were able to continue moving forward despite all that opposition is because of joy. It's because we found beauty in life. I dare to believe that that's like the main reason why these women were able to persevere. I don't know. I just find it to be so fascinating. Like reading this story and it just being that his main issue was like how mad he was that it took him 7 years to get back on the horse again. And like, I could not find a Black woman creative, a prominent one, because I'm sure that there are stories. We are not a monolith. But from the ones, the heavy hitters, the OGs, our literary mothers, none that were afforded the luxury of being able to retreat. Oh, yeah. So I wanted to share that part there, but there's more to the creative U-turns. I just wanted to highlight that because I felt like this story was useless. Maybe it resonates with somebody, but I don't see how it resonate with the community that I'm serving. Okay. I'm tempering my rage because just thinking about the fact that these women did not have the opportunity and what they were going through is just like a lot for me. Like, the guardian in me, just, yeah. Okay. Let me read the comments first. I think that'll help me see where we're at. Hi, Simone. Welcome. Going back. Bluest eye. Yes, yes, yes. Trying to make sure I don't miss out on anybody's comments. Harakari. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, Harakari. Yes, yes, yes. Sworn to own abandon. Oh, okay. She was using a term. Okay. Okay, I get it now. Thank you guys. Because I was just like, what the fuck? Then she's reading me. I'm like, not Rachel. Stop. Then he gave us Pixar. Right, exactly. Like something was taken, he got something back. Having that cultural background is part of why so many kamikaze pilots in World War II, most countries wouldn't have that. It means divine wind. Okay. Octavia Butler. Yes, 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 yes. Backlash on multiple levels. Yes. We as Black women have community to hold us together. We hold space for one another. We don't retreat. We need rest. Exactly, Rachel. Agreed. Yeah, they had some of them were in community with each other. Yeah, and they did rely on each other to get through those things. I just thought it was so interesting that like the option to retreat was non-existent. Like there was not an option to retreat. Like we couldn't go away anywhere. So interesting. And maybe I can do a bit more research into their lives, like, in their later years. But I mean, Toni Morrison was like out here doing lectures and everything well into, so was Maya Angelou. Like, all of them. Bell Hooks too. Like, I just, yeah. It's so good to recognize and honor these transcendent ancestors. Thank you, Lois. Of course. Let's talk about how the author and many like her start out writing about art. Let's talk about it, Carla. Please. Let's talk about it. When you look at historical Black women, it seems like when we are forced to retreat from walking our purpose, we literally die. There is no mountain retreat to grieve at. Yep. We get sick and die. Black women need a whole army to start out young and still be successful. Beyonce, Janet Jackson, LaToya. Yep, yes. Leotin Price. Otherwise, we have to build ourselves to keep credibility. Would Toni Morrison have had the success without being an editor for decades? The evidence probably says not. Yeah. And I mean, when you think about Zora Neale Hurston, it was really her relationship with Langston Hughes that helped her to get the beneficiary that she had to help her pay for her bills. And even with that, she genuinely got to a point where I was like, this white woman is controlling everything that I do. The fact that her beneficiary, and I hope I'm using that word correctly. I feel like that's the term. It's not a patron. What's the word? It's like, damn it. It's, you guys will help me. I know. But I'm going to say beneficiary until I find another word, unless it is the word. But because she was paying for these things, a part of the stipulation for Zora Neale Hurston to be paid by that woman, which meant like her housing, her transportation, clothing. She had a weekly or monthly salary or allowance, not a salary. She got an allowance like she was a child. Was that Zora Neale Hurston could not produce work for anybody else. And that means that that white woman, because I don't know her name, I never really cared to lean into know her name, to be honest with you, had an entire library of work from Zora Neale Hurston that we will never see. Because we barely got what we got from Zora Neale Hurston on her own. Just so that she could live, so that she can eat well, be properly clothed, have a roof over her head, be able to get to and from spaces. All of her creative genius went for the entertainment of that woman in her library, her personal library. I still cannot process that information. I cannot process that. I can't process it. I'm just like, what? That's insane. There's so much that we will not know because the need to colonize, to own Blackness in any possible way, infuriating, right? But then she had a relationship with Langston Hughes. They were besties. There's a really good podcast called Our Ancestors Were Messy that talks about it in detail. It was really good. It's a fun time because they were still human. And I think that is a great podcast for you to listen to because you start to see how humane they were. Like, we look at them as these literary greats, and they definitely are and deserve that type of honor. But they were also human beings trying to figure their shit out. You know what I mean? And I love how that podcast does that because you get to see the joy that was woven in there. But her and Langston were best friends. And because of Langston being a man, also being like a palatable Black man, right? She was able to connect with him, and that helped her to leverage her creative genius. She still needed to do that with someone else. She couldn't do it on her own. So exactly what Carla is saying, like, you had to have like this full force behind you or be well connected in order to be seen, in order for your creative genius to be valid, to be credible, even in the 1920s, which is insane. I'm even thinking about Olivia Walker and her experience. Her validation came from like her mom, her mother being Madam C.J. Walker, a very wealthy Black woman, and how she was able to use that wealth to give back in ways that people were unfamiliar with until the book came out. Yeah, that's just, unfortunately, it's our history. I hope that doesn't have to always be that way. But it's just something to note. If you are an artist and you are a Black woman, like, It's just something to be aware of. Yes. I don't like how she wrote that story either. Yeah, doesn't align with what I've read about Jobs. I've seen his retreat. This is a different. I just said let me be very clear. I use Steve Jobs as like an alternative, but the person she spoke about, his name is Blake Edwards. He wrote something. It was taken from him. It got botched really badly. Did terrible numbers. He was so sad about it. He left for 7 years. For Steve Jobs, it was. I forget why he was kicked out of his company. I really do. But he wasn't also a good person. He was also like a really horrible man. He's having to be a creative genius on top of that. And that he was able to come back and rebuild. So I want to be clear on that because I may have confused you and I apologize for that. Yeah, this is so needed, the perspective. Yay, yay, yay. More of these spaces, please. Yay. That part, Carla, it's not a position. It's a purpose embedded in who we are. Agreed. Hi, Serene. How are you? Benefactor. Benefactor. Thank you. Thank you. I'm like beneficiary. I'm like, that feels like death. I'm not sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All roads lead to enslavement. Unfortunately. Yes. Yeah. Even Zora got sick. Yep. And died without a damn grave. Yep. Because she and Langston Hughes and her had a falling out. Yes. Yes. And the falling out didn't make any sense at all. I'm just like, how did we get here, Langston? And let me tell you something. He's a literary giant too. But him and I have beef as well. Because when I was reading Joy Goddess and the shit that he introduced into the group chat, I was like, Langston, are we good? Like, are we good? Like, are we good? Because it's given that we're not good. It's given that you and I are not good. And had I been there in 1920s, you and I would have definitely been tussling because I don't understand you. He had invited this white man who was obsessed. He was obsessed with the fact that black people could be wealthy. Obsessed. He ended up getting a dinner invite, I'm assuming through Langston, to one of Alilia's amazing parties at the mansion up in White Plains. And he was just like, oh my God, y'all can read and write? What? Y'all bathe? What? Y'all are doctors, lawyers. Like, he was literally so mind blown. He became obsessed and wrote a book called The N-Word Heaven. I'm not gonna say the full name. And essentially it was him. He begged Langston actually to get into the inner circle of the black elite during that time, befriended all of them to then make a mockery of their wealth and their blackness in this book that became a best fucking seller. And then Langston decided he was going to support the book. Like, oh, but he's saying that we were rich and happy though. Like, y'all don't hear that part. It's like, did you hear the title of the book, Langston? Did you hear the title of the book? Why are you what are you doing defending this white man's work? Like, what are we talking about here? Even the author's family and friends were like, please do not put this book out. Even they were like, your obsession with black folks and their ability to be wealthy and creative is it's a lot. Maybe not publish it. It was his only book. I think the second one he tried to publish, we don't even know what it was. It was only popular because he literally made these wealthy black people who were changing the world. Aaliyah Walker was able to get an ambulance to take care of the wounded black soldiers in the war because nobody else was going to do it. They were going to let those black men die. She gathered people together through beauty and culture and party to raise enough money to send medical aid. And that was reduced in that book. So yeah, me and Langston have beef. We have beef, rightfully so. As y'all can see, it really makes me emotional because I'm like, wow, all of our genius, all of that work, all that beauty, all of that dedication to our culture was made to be a joke for shits and fucking giggles. Like, blows my mind. So me and Langston, we really do have beef. I need to hear some more stories about him to maybe feel differently. But for me, it was just like, and then for you to do what you did to Zora, I'm like, baby, what are we doing? Where are we going with this? And why are we going there, Langston? So yeah, I digress. That just needed to be said. Okay. But yes, I'm currently working with a friend on a project about her life and work. It's wild how prolific she was and is and died in her 30s because she wasn't, she wouldn't be brought. Yep. The white lady was very controlling too and got in between Langston Hughes and Zora. Yeah, she kept pitting them against each other, which is weird. Yep. I was obsessed with Zora when I first heard about her in college. Yes. Hi, beautiful. Oh, patriarchy and desire of white gays. We taught y'all how to bathe. Let's be quiet. Please, I digress. We can't say too much because then they get upset. I would have been tussling with you. I really would have. We would have been tussling, hands down. I haven't even been able to finish the last few chapters of that book because I cannot get past the betrayal that I felt. I was just like, and then essentially that book put a lot of white folks onto the wealth of black people, and it caused a lot of freaking commotion. It was the end of the Harlem Renaissance. That is what triggered it. Because they were like, not y'all out here. When y'all left the South, y'all was not supposed to prosper up there. Now we find out y'all are doing art, making what? Y'all are making money. What? Absolutely not. No, thank you. We're gonna get back in there and start colonizing. That is exactly what happened. That damn book. Which I guess also shows the power of literature. That it can begin and end eras. I wonder if God took an aspirin that day. Yeah, probably. It's like, what is going on here? Whoever made that printing press. Yeah. I'm like, I did not send y'all down here to do all of that. Sometimes I really do feel like God be like, what? This is what y'all do with y'all free will? Okay. You know? But yes, we've had that moment. Okay, let me just make sure that we can close out. We're like halfway through and then we'll go into our EFT. Thank y'all for staying a little longer. I thought this was going to be a lot shorter. But I don't know why I thought that. Okay. Yeah, enough about him. Okay. Have compassion. Creative U-turns are always born from fear of success or fear of failure. It doesn't really matter which. The net result is the same. To recover from a creative U-turn or a pattern involving many creative U-turns, we must first admit that it exists. Yes, I did react negatively to pain and fear. Yes, I do need help. Think of your talent as a young and skittish horse that you are bringing along. This horse is very talented, but it is also young, nervous, and inexperienced. It will make mistakes, be frightened by obstacles it hasn't seen before. It may even bolt, try to throw you off, or feign lameness. Your job as a creative jockey is to keep your horse moving forward and to coax it into finishing the course. First of all, take a look at what jumps make your horse so skittish. You may find that certain obstacles are far more scary than others. An agent jump may frighten you more than a workshop jump. I'm just reading this, but it's like if you understand the language, great. If you don't, she's just saying like see what works best for you. Okay. A review jump may be okay, while a rewrite jump scares your talent to death. Remember that in a horse race, there are other horses in the field. One trick a seasoned jockey uses is to place a green horse in the slipstream of an older, steadier horse and more seasoned horse. You can do this too. Essentially, it's just saying if you feel inexperienced and scared, go ahead and find you an elder or a mentor. I actually just could have that is my note. I just could have said that. I just read it for that was no need for me to read that. But go ahead and get a mentor, go ahead and get an elder, okay? And to also make sure that when you're doing that with that level of discernment we talked about in week 8 of recovering sense of strength. Not everybody gets to be your mentor simply because they have what you want or because they're older than you or they have more experience. You also need to see how they obtain that information, how they obtain those goals, and who they are as a person. Do their people like them? And if not, you have to really ask yourself, is it worth being mentored by somebody like that? I know when I was doing my leadership mentoring when I was in college, I had to develop my own coursework for feminine led leadership because a lot of what they were teaching, I'm like, this is not communal based. This is not mutual aid. I would never lead like this. This is very ego driven. And there is a level of egotism to leadership that people never want to talk about. Being a leader has nothing to do with the people that you're leading. It's very much about the fact that you feel distaste or discomfort for something that's happening in your community and you want to change. And then you now have the influence or the desire to influence your community to also want that change. That is the basic of leadership. And a lot of people don't know that. That's really like at its basis, that's what being a leader means. It's truly about your own discomfort. And you being like, aren't y'all also discomfort? Like, let's do it all together. That's what that is. However, when I was going through that process, I was like I think I was like one of the only women in the program. And I kept saying, like, I could never do this to my people. I don't see how this uplifts everyone. And constantly I've been going against the grain for that. It required me to find eldership outside of that program. I didn't use my mentor in that program. And they were pissed about it. And I could care less because that person was not going to be able to guide me to where it is I wanted to be or to be the leader that I knew I should be for my community. Um, and I stand by that statement. So if you're finding that you are scared or nervous, you have a fear of failure or of safety in your creative journey or success, find an elder that you enjoy the life that they're living. People love them and care for them. Find a mentor that truly wants to uplift you and allow you to develop your skill set and keep you connected to people who are well resourced, right? And I would also add that layer of getting professional help to help you move through any traumas that you may have, whether that's getting a trauma informed practitioner or getting a trauma informed therapist. You need someone who's going to help you be able to rewire your mind, to help you accept and realize the trauma that you're carrying so you can move forward. Both of those things are necessary because your mentor is not skilled to do what a trauma-informed practitioner or therapist can do. Okay? And the same thing with eldership. Eldership is a completely different breed of experience. And I do think all three are necessary. However, starting with one and building on that will also help you get out your creative U-turn. Okay? Once we admit the need for help, the help arrives. The ego always wants to claim self-sufficiency. It would rather pose as a creative loner than ask for help. Ask anyway. Okay? She gives an example about another person named Bob who's asking for help. Essentially, ask for help. All right? Is a sentence I have highlighted here. I believe the creator keeps an eye on artists and was protecting the experience that Bob was having. And I agree with that too. I feel like your divine source is always looking out for your best interest. It's always looking out for you. Your ancestors, your angels, whoever you call on to, they're always looking out for you. They genuinely want to make sure that you are safe, that you are satiated, and that you are having a good time. They genuinely do want that. But a part of connecting to source in that way is to invite them in. When's the last time that you woke up and invited source into your day? When's the last time you woke up and invited God into your day, your ancestors? Like that free will thing does matter. They can do things like keep you alive in certain spaces, but also if you want that extra you have to call on them with authority. There was a TikTok that went viral about this creator who realized that they're supposed to ask with authority and not ask like, hey, when you get the chance, ancestor. And she was like, now I'm like, go here, do that, make that happen. I want to say, have a level of respect when you talk to your ancestors. Not too much. Okay? Let's not get crazy. Speaking with authority is not speaking disrespectfully. So when you're calling on your divine source, on whatever deities you work with, angels, ancestors, speak with authority. Know that that's what you want. Speaking with meekness will never get you anything, divinely or in the physical world. If you're mumbling through your desires, you're not going to get anything because we cannot clearly hear you or understand you. Yes, is that saying of God knows on my heart. Cute. Love that. However, if you want to show that you're ready for what you desire, speak with authority. And if we're talking about ancestral veneration, if you know that there is someone in your ancestor team that has an experience there, call on them specifically. When I'm talking about beauty, I'm calling on my grandmother because that woman was literally a beauty queen. Everyone in Harlem knew that that was one of the flyest women. So when I want to get dolled up, I want to look cute, I call on my good sis. Here's how I want to express myself today, right? When I'm leaning into my musical talents, I call on my grandfather. These are things that we do, and you do it with intention and with authority. And you can do the same thing when it comes to your creative pursuits. Call on your people, call on your angels, call on your deities, ask them to be with you in the journey. Before I go on every live, I do a bit of honey and a ritual so that when I speak, I'm speaking truth and that it is sweet to the ears that hear me. I set intention. that is also going to help you get out of your creative U-turn, because you have a clear desire that you are expressing to your team, and they know how to better show up. Okay? Okay. Let's read this, and then we're going to get into the EFT session. Okay, y'all? Yes. Carla, here we go. Rachel, I love our men, but there are times. Yep, I say it all the time. I'm like, y'all get on my nerves. Even in the Bible story, Adam stood silent while Eve, so-called, ate the apple and then blamed Eve. Yep. It's giving lack of accountability. Even Mansa Musa traveling through Europe telling our business on our continent. Yep. Also tragedies like Greenwood, Tulsa. Yep. Rachel, I don't know. Oh my God, yeah, Mansa Musa is really, really cool. It's a great story. But yeah, I agree. It was like, you chat too much. You chat too much. This is when we have to realize that it can be a very default experience. Maybe this is chemical because testosterone is like the main hormone that men use. So maybe that's why that is. I'm trying to logically understand it because sometimes I'm like, how did we get here? But this is when you know when something is ego driven or ego supported. Like I never am against the ego. I openly tell you guys that all the time. You need an ego in order to be a creative. I don't care what nobody else says. You need an ego. You need a healthy ego because that is the only part of the divine 3 sections of who you are: your higher self, inner child, ego. Ego is the only thing that's going to get you up and going, that has that go-getter mindset, that has that I'm going to say what I need to say and I'm going to share what I need to share regardless. Your inner child should not have that type of responsibility. That's crazy. It's a child. And your higher self already knows everything's working out for you anyway. It's not even thinking about that. It's like, girl, it all works itself out. Fuck, like that's not my business. Your ego is what is the only part that connects us to our humanity, actually. I know we have to say it's the higher self, but no, it's the ego. It needs to be supported. It's in the supporting space of making sure that you're getting up and getting the shit done. It cannot be in the driver's seat. I don't even want it in the passenger seat, if I'm being honest with you. I prefer it to be in the back. Securely, with its little seatbelt on. Maybe in the middle so you keep your eyes on it and you got to turn around and be like, not too much. But your ego deserves to be there and it needs to be there. However, when you put it in the driver's seat, we get situations like that where you share too much information because you want validation, because you want credibility, because you want to show other people the beauty of your culture and your people and how amazing it is, because society on a whole has deemed you to be irrelevant or minute. When your ego is healthy, you don't care what society has to say about you and your people, because you know the beauty is real. You also know that what is for you and that you'll find your people. And I say that for myself too. I had a girlfriend who would always be like, your followership should be bigger. You should be in the thousands. And I'd always tell her, like, I love that you see that for me. And maybe in time that will happen, but that is never a concern for me at all. Like, I'm never thinking bigger is better. I like the fact that I can hop online, that I can share my information, and that for the 15 years I've been doing that, I've never had to have a troll or negative comments spewed about me, or not even being able to see eye to eye with certain people. And we've been able to agree to disagree. I've been able to share who I am truly, the things that I'm passionate about, my spiritual practice online safely. And I do believe it's because of the level of discernment that I have and because my goal is not ego driven. It's because I have a healthy ego. I have a problem putting somebody in their place if need be, but I also don't attract people who need that experience from me. They just respect me for the human being that I am, for the creative that I am. And I can confidently say that. I have a whole digital footprint if someone wanted to challenge me on it. Never, not once. There are people who've been to multiple lives over the past years. We've never had an issue with anybody sharing anything on their heart and it not being well received. And that is a testament to my spiritual hygiene, to my discipline and making sure that I create a safe space for myself and for others. And because I have a healthy ego and I know when and how to use it. You know? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Rachel, for breaking it down. Jack, please. Rachel, wow, thank you so much. Yes, yes, yes. Mentor, elder. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Speak in the power of your position. Ashe, the ancestors support because you are moving in the power of your lineage. Agreed. They do. They love me. My ancestors love me. If there's one thing I know that they love me. They love me down. I'm very spoiled. They love me. And I love them. I have such deep reverence for them. I love them. We're locked in. Like, I'm the baby. And I'm okay with that. And they don't play about me. And they're very fierce. And they can be a little scary to other people, but I love them. We're great. We're on great terms, you know? But yes, speaking in the power of your position, that's so important. Like, don't get beside yourself. We are a team. I'm not above. Sometimes you got to regulate and be like, hey, I am the living vessel of our lineage. Don't stress me out. Okay? Don't stress me out. Y'all are asking a lot from me. I'm gonna need the resources and the people. So you do gotta do that, but there's authority in that. But there's no disrespect. I just want to make sure that we are aware of that, because I felt like that video was a little bit misleading. Like, they're not enslaved people, you know, or enslaved spirits, because maybe unfortunately in their lifetime, depending on your culture, they might have been, which would be even worse to treat them that way, honestly. Like, they're not minions. Don't do that. Okay. Jack, please. You can have the ego for a reason. It's meant to be good. Yes, agree, Carla. Ego's absolutely needed here, but it can't be driving the bus. Exactly. I feel the energetic boundaries of your space, Lotus. Thank you. Yeah. So that was my favorite chapter so far. No, not so far. That is my favorite chapter in the book. The other chapters, 10 to 11 are good. 10 to 12, excuse me, are good. I just love 9 because it's just so, there's so much there. Okay. So what I would like to do is spend the next 10 minutes doing our tapping session. So if you guys can still stay on with me, that's great. If not, do not worry. The replay will be up a lot faster than the after party notes, but the after party notes are going to be so good because I'm going to be talking about the neuroscience aspects, specifically neuroaesthetics, and how art rewires the brain, which I think is really important for this chapter, and how we view compassion. And then I'll also be talking about just like the metaphysical aspect of what that looks and feels like to be compassionate to yourself, and how it literally changes your energetic aura, which is really freaking cool. So that will be in the paid notes for anybody that is a paid member. That's something I give you guys specially, and I dive in deep so that you have a little bit more to lean into with this experience. But right now we're gonna do 2 rounds of EFT. One's gonna be negative, one's gonna be positive. The negative round is not like you're speaking negativity over yourself. It simply just means that we're going to be saying things that we may have said to ourselves, or someone may have said to us, or we may have thought of that does not feel great in the body. We're gonna tap on our sacred points to bring it up to the forefront and say, hey, if this lives within me, I want to transmute it. I want to let it go. I want to make space for something else that feels more aligned for who I am, right? Then round 2 is going to be our positive round, where now we've cleared out that space. We're going to put in affirmations and statements that are going to help us feel more vibrant in our creative journey. Okay. The 10 tapping points that we'll be using is the side of hand between my pinky knuckle bone and my wrist bone. You would lightly tap, pulse, rub, hover, or envision yourself tapping there, depending on your level of mobility and what feels best for you. Then we have the top of the head where the crown chakra would be. We have the start of the brow on either side, doesn't matter. Then you would trace your brow bone on the ocular bone. You would tap on the side, not the temple, but the bone itself. Underneath the eye, on the ocular bone again. Then we would go underneath the nose, above. Yes, you could do EFT in the car. I would not do it while driving, though, but you could definitely do it in the car. Chin in the crease. Collarbone, that dip underneath the collarbone, you would tap here. Then you would bring it to the middle. That's your heart point. And then we have underneath the arm, where the beginning of your rib cage is on the side, or the end of your armpit. If you wear a bra, it'd be where your bra strap is, okay? There might be one point that feels really good for you. If that's the case, stay tapping there, wherever feels best for you. I want you to trust yourself. I'm here to guide you, but I want you to trust to listen to what your body needs more than what it is that I'm doing, okay? And I want you to use your voice. Your voice is medicine, like we talked about earlier. Please use your voice in these sessions. It's so much more potent when you do. All right. We're going to start. We're going to take a sip of water first, because water helps us to regulate our emotions. And if we are doing emotional freedom tapping, that means that some emotions are going to get free. And we want to be able to regulate that when that happens. Jack, please, I beg of you. Please. Okay. Ready? Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to lightly tap here. Take a nice deep inhale, exhale. Tap, rub, pulse, or hover, or envision, whatever feels best for you. I'm going to tap. Deep inhale, breathing into the lower belly. Letting that air rise into the heart space. And open mouth, exhale, let go. And then I want you to repeat after me, okay? Even though I've been judging this shift in my creative life like it means something is wrong with me, I'm willing to see it differently now. Even though fear has been showing up disguised as procrastination, confusion, delay, I'm ready to call it what it actually is. I have been hard on myself and quick to label myself lazy. My sister called. Hold on. 1 second, guys. I'm sorry, because she's going to keep calling. 1 second. Keep tapping. Okay. All right. Let's start that one over again. I've been hard on myself and quick to label myself lazy. I'm open to responding with compassion instead of punishment. We're going to the top of the head. Tap here. This is a creative U-turn. Brow. Fear doesn't mean stop. It means pay attention. Side of eye. I'm noticing where fear has been quiet but influential. Under the eye. Fear of doing it wrong. Fear of being seen. Fear of wasting my gifts. Under the nose. I no longer need to shame myself to feel productive. Chin. Calling myself lazy never told the full truth. Collarbone. The truth is, I was listening, processing, recalibrating. Heart. I'm allowed to change directions without attacking myself. Under the arm. This pause holds information, and I don't need to judge that. All right, we're going to drop our hands to our side. Take a nice deep inhale, breathing in. Slow exhale, letting go, dropping the shoulders. And then we're going to go into round 2. And this is our positive round. So you can drink some water. And then we're going to get into it. Okay? Side of hand. Lightly tap, pulse, rub, or hover. There we go. Even though I was taught that discipline has to be strict or harsh, I'm open to a softer understanding. We're going to go to the top of the head. Enthusiasm means being filled with God. I love that. Brow. It's not hype. It's me being present. Side of the eye. It's devotion. I no longer have to feel pressure. Under the eye. Because when I'm filled with source, I no longer need to force anything. It all just flows under the nose. Discipline is the study of my higher self, lovingly. Chin. And I am learning how to lean into that more, to enjoy that process through play. Collarbone. To give myself loving attention, to allow myself to be kinder on my creative journey. Heart. To trust in the divine intelligence and the ancestral technology moving through my creative process. Under the arm. So I move forward with compassion, clarity, and faith in how I am built, because I am built beautifully. Take a nice deep inhale, breathing into lower space, allowing that air to rise up into the heart. Bring a smile to your face and exhale, let it go. Soften the shoulders, soften the face. Be in this moment. See if you can feel filled with source, with divinity, with the love of your ancestors, angels, deities, whoever you call on to in your time of need. With the inspiration to play more, especially when it comes to your creative journey. To allow yourself to be led by joy and curiosity. To tap back into that childlike wonder and see what you create, knowing that it will be beautiful. Deep inhale, breathing in. Slow exhale, letting go, coming back to the space. Please let me know how you're feeling. Thank you so much for staying with me. This was way longer than I expected, but it was so juicy, so good. I appreciate you for joining in, for sharing your genius with me, and with the community, for being a safe space for me and for the community. For becoming subscribers. Thank you all that were subscribing throughout the live. I really appreciate it. We have 3 more weeks left, and then we're done. We're going to probably be closing this out the week before the patriarchal new year. So I'm very excited about that. Week 10, I cannot remember the name of the chapter. Let's go look for it together. Recovering a sense of self-protection. I feel like it's going to probably be a heavier chapter. But we had a good time with this one. That's what matters. Thank you again. Please feel free to share my Substack with anyone that you feel like could really benefit from being in community with us, from the essays that I write to the lives that I host. If you feel like someone would really enjoy this experience, please do that. Serene, thank you so much also for being patient, because I have to get to your email. I did not forget. I promise you. I was just talking about how I have to write 5 essays. So bear with me. But I appreciate you for showing up and being here with me today. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Carla, Rachel, Sia, Summer. Oh my gosh, there's so many beautiful faces here that I can see. Thank you, everyone. If I did not pull up your name, please do not hold it against my heart. Know that you are with me in this journey as well. Simone, everyone that was here, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you so much for being on this journey with me, and I cannot wait to see what comes of it, okay? I want you to go ahead, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Take it easy. I will put up the replay as soon as it finishes processing on Substack. And yeah, the replay notes will have a brief overview of each essay, along with the task and the main activity and your check-in questions. They're always there in the replay. The replay is always free. And then for those that are paid subscribers or want to become paid subscribers, you get access to my after party notes, where I dive into the neuroscience, to the beauty magic, to the metaphysical aspects of what we're talking about on our creative journey, for this particular series. But within that too, you'll get access to different audios and essays that will come out in 2026 after the series is concluded. Okay. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here with me. Seriously, this was such a good Sunday. I hope you have a great, great, great day. See you soon. Bye.